It's time. It is that time. Time for Stiles and Watkins.
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140. Find us on YouTube at Sacktown Sports 1140.
It's time for Alan Stiles and Chris Watkins.
Yes. Chris Watkins, here again, Stiles and Watkins. You just heard Alan Stiles hold down that morning slot again. He's going to be doing that this entire week. And for those that tuned in to us last Friday, you heard, again, me without Alan, but with one Brenden Nunes, who joins us again on this wonderful, wonderful Monday. Excited to talk with Brenden throughout today. Definitely excited to get his thoughts on some things. We are going to talk some NBA Cup at some point today. Again, I was just saying it during the crosstalk. It felt like, the in-season tournament kind of came and went last season. Well, last season, I think we definitely properly appreciated it. But this offseason, with the announcement of it, without it being the first year of it ever happening, it kind of feels like it lost a little luster. And, I just want to make sure that we properly cover it. And so we are going to get Brendan's thoughts at some point today about how he feels like the Kings can do in the in-season tournament, now called the, as Kyle put me on, the Emirates NBA Cup. Definitely want to make sure we get that money in there. Brenden, first and foremost, man, how was your weekend? You are no longer physically with us. You are, I believe, in Southern California, correct?
Yeah, Southern California. I'm doing well. Appreciate you guys, as always.
Appreciate you.
And yeah, had a little weekend up in Parker, Arizona, kind of near Lake Havasu. So, attempted to get a little color. Wasn't there quite long enough. Might be a little red, but that's about it, and enjoying my time visiting some family and embracing the idea of off season a little bit, trying to at least.
Yeah, you don't look any darker than me, man. So you clearly didn't put in enough effort. Going to need you to try a lot harder. If you're on vacation, you might as well show it. Brenden, excited to talk with you today. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's get into it. The big things over the weekend definitely had my attention. And Brenden, I'm curious if you watched any Olympic action over the weekend, if you had anything stick out to you. We had Noah Lyles, who won the men's 100-meter dash. You had Scotty Scheffler, Djokovic, Team USA 3-on-3. Did anything over the weekend catch your eye from an Olympic standpoint?
Yeah, got to be that 100-meter, right? Noah Lyles talked a lot, and he backed it up after the fact, which is always good to see, seeing an American go out there and win that for the first time in 20 years or so.
20.
So that was fun to see. I also ended up watching a bunch of, I guess, weird ones like shot put I tuned into for a little while, and I don't know the name of it, but there's another one where they practically got like a flail and they spin in circles and then let it fly like on the same field as the shot put.
Oh, the discus.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Weird ones where I'm just like, I start asking questions like, what do these guys do when they're not doing this? Is this a part-time job? How does this work?
It is a part-time job. I was just talking with somebody about that over the weekend. The Olympics does have a weird, I wouldn't even call it a payment structure. Like I from my understanding, for the most part, they have to pretty much privately fund their trips there. And so there's a lot of, like the discus throwers or maybe the triple jumpers or things like that. If you aren't one of the lucky few that are sponsored by Visa or whatever, Coca-Cola, you're really not making much money. I mean, there's a lot of swimmers and things that are, engineers in their free time and things like that. So it's kind of crazy. You mentioned Noah Lyles running that 100. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. And actually, before we get into Noah Lyles, I will say I did do the discus and the shot put in high school, or at least tried to. Way tougher than you would ever think. The disc, or specifically the shot put, looks like, okay, yeah, if you can throw a softball or whatever, throw a baseball, football, anything, if you feel like you can throw a distance, you would think you could do the shot put. Completely different. There's like footwork involved that, of course, has to be to a T. You have to the ball is also like, it's just a stone. It's very, very heavy. You have to keep it next to your neck, and there's a perfect throwing technique and everything. The discus is honestly, I could never figure it out because you have to hold it. You almost have to Spider-Man finger it, like how Spider-Man does his little, I don't know. It's a whole process. But definitely an interesting one to watch. Definitely one of the more obscure ones. You mentioned
you weren't at the point where you're going to fund your own Olympic trip.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out as I watch the Olympics. I'm trying to get a more definite answer on Jason's question of, if we gave you 4 years, which sport would you pick? I'm really starting to lean towards handball. I was watching a lot of handball over the weekend. The gold medal match or the qualifying match was yesterday between, I think it was Hungary and France. And obviously France is the home country. And that crowd was going bananas. But it looks like it's essentially a combination of like basketball, soccer, and like there's another sport that maybe like frisbee kind of. It's like some combination of all of them, and it just seems like it's the most PE sport that you could possibly play at a professional level. So I think I'm going handball with how it's currently constructed.
I think I know what you're talking about. I should probably do a little better attention at paying attention to the names while I'm watching these sports.
Yeah,
but
exactly. The one with the
based
disc.
on your description, I think we're talking about the same thing because I'm sitting watching thinking, what sport could this possibly be? I'm like, is this like this is like on land water polo or
yes,
it has a splash of lacrosse too. That's yes definitely the physicality of lacrosse.
The physicality is the crazy thing because I'm like, what is a foul in this sport? Like they grab them, and sometimes like if they hit the deck, they'll call it a restart, but it's not like a free kick. It's an incredibly strange sport. But I'm having a blast watching all the handball I can get, please. Again, you mentioned Noah Lyles. He had a personal best 9.783 second to win his first ever 100-meter gold medal. Like you said, Brenden, it's the first gold in the 100 meters for the U.S. men since Justin Gatlin did it in 2004. It was the closest 100-meter final since at least Moscow in 1980. I believe Alan said there was 5 1,000ths of a second that split the first and second. I mean, it literally looked like, I don't know if you saw it out there, but it was the definition of a photo finish. Like, that term is kind of overused, and but this is actually a photo finish.
It was required.
It was like 5 different guys who were all leaning, and in a weird way, you could say like Noah Lyles didn't win the race, but he won the lean off, and that's kind of what it was. Like he really timed it perfectly, and big shout out Noah Lyles, who will try and make history and go for the 200-meter final on Wednesday. He'll have an opportunity to claim his second gold, and that would make him the first American man to win both 100 and 200-meter sprint events in the same Olympics since Carl Lewis did it all the way back in the day. Other big news here, you had Djokovic taking down Alcaraz for his first ever gold. It was a rematch of the Wimbledon final from 3 weeks ago. Djokovic beat Carlos Alcaraz. And it really, to me, this story is more so about why the Olympics is great and why the Olympics is its own little separate, unique award. Like, you got a guy like Novak Djokovic who has won quite literally everything. He played while Roger Federer was kind of at his peak. He obviously crossed over with Nadal a good bit, and Carlos Alcaraz seems to be the next one. He's won just about everything. And the fact that you see him, I don't know if anybody out there saw it, but when Djokovic won, he goes out to the crowd, he cries in his family's arms and everything like that. And it was just a reminder that, this thing, I saw Devin Booker have some comments about, the NBA finals is a lot tougher to win than the Olympics, but it just shows that there's always something out there for these guys to kind of dangle that carrot and try and accomplish. And it's just crazy to me that a guy who's won 24 majors, is 37 years old, still has that level of emotion for winning something. The fact that you can still have something out there that you can try and attain. I think it was an awesome story and an awesome moment for Novak Djokovic to get his first ever gold medal. Again, the 24-time major winner secures that. And Scottie Scheffler was a big winner yesterday. He started the final round 4 shots behind the lead, 6 shots entering the back 9. He birdied 5 of his last 6 holes down the stretch and matched a course record with a 9 under 62 for a 1-shot victory in an Olympic gold medal. The U.S. wins back-to-back gold medals in the Olympics after Xander Schauffele won in the Tokyo Games. And Brenden, I want to ask you, sir, about the Team USA 3x3 team. We talked about it a bit on Friday. I don't even know what to say. They lose to the Netherlands 21-6 and will fail to get a medal. Brenden, this is terrible. How does this happen? I seriously think we can find people from the big three. And I think I saw Ice Cube say a version of this. We could probably find people in the big three and get some sort of medal. How does this happen?
I think for what it's worth, their team was pretty highly ranked coming into this. I mentioned it on Friday, but I got a chance to cover them a little bit when they played some of the qualifiers actually in Golden One Center. That team with Jimmer Fredette, Rick Barry's son in there as well, was playing really well. And for the most part, I think was the favorite coming in. And so I think crazy. It is kind of hindsight in a way that the U.S. should be dominating this. Yes, they have the best basketball players in the world. They can put together the best team more often than not, because I guess there's some debate now with all the international guys, but you're not seeing any of the other big countries throwing out some of their star players either. I think this is more about what NBA guys would want to do this and would sign up in the first place. It's a different brand of basketball. You're also playing on a little bit of a different court. It's a little kind of outdoor feel. And I don't know about you, but the more I watch, like I said, I covered it. It's still confusing to me watching it. I'm like, I don't, who plays these rules, to be honest? If you're playing at the park, who doesn't have to check the ball after a made basket? You know, you have to go clear it, but you don't have to check it. If you miss and you totally miss rim, I know some people like to say you don't have to check. I've always been a guy, you still need to check no matter even what. If I airball, because just putting it right back up, like, what are we doing? So I think the rules are a little different. I think that you'll see more guys similarly to Jimmer that maybe wouldn't get a chance to win a gold with the USA 5-on-5 team, but some of the 3-on-3 team. And so we're getting there. I think that, again, they were the favorites from my understanding coming in. So I think it's easy to say in hindsight that they should be better. But for the most part, I felt okay about what they had out there. And, maybe if Jimmer is fully healthy and got a few more massages coming in, that he would feel a little bit better, and maybe that goes differently.
I will not touch that one at all. The U.S. started 0-4 in group play and then won 2 in a row to make it out of the group play. And then, like I said, lost and will not medal. The women's side, they just lost earlier today, the semifinal to Spain in overtime, 18-16. They will play the loser of Germany versus Canada for the bronze. So shout out the women who will at least come home with a medal. And it seems like, I just wonder, why can't we send out the Jordan McLaughlins of the world? Like, there has to be better options than what we're sending out now. It's definitely a great point, though, to point out that nobody else is sending NBA players. Not that anybody has the pool of players or the options that we do, but kind of feels like we can do a little bit better. It kind of reminds me of maybe when back in the day, the proper Team USA, the 5-on-5, I guess you can call it, Team USA, would send out the college kids, and then at some point, enough was enough, and they started to kind of lean into sending some of their better players, and now we are where we are today, where we have pretty much a super team going out there to try and win gold for us every year. And it's not even really trying. They pretty much ease to a gold every year. So maybe that'll change moving forward. But Ice Cube, again, is challenging whoever does win the gold medal to play his 3-on-3 all-star team in August. So we'll see how that goes down. And if 3-on-3 ever catches on here in the States, because, it seems like something that we should just naturally win and should be a gold in our pocket easy. Coming up next, we are going to talk about one king that is thriving during the summer and another one that is not doing too hot, and I'm not too proud to talk about it. We're going to talk about that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports 11.
Kevin Herter plays here.
It's Herter. He's been hot. He fires. He's still hot. Kevin Herter from downtown has a 15-point first quarter.
Sacktown Sports is your proud home of the Sacramento Kings.
I feel like I'm constantly cleaning hair off my bathroom floor. At least my Swiffer sweeper makes it easy. Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths have ultra-thick pads to trap and lock hairs, like a hair magnet. And when I'm finished cleaning up my hair, Sweeper takes care of his too. Now the hair's gone, all thanks to Swiffer. Try Swiffer Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths. I promise you'll love them or your money back. And also try Swiffer Sweeper Wet to make quick work of tough, sticky messes.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, You're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter. Locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America N.A.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
Sacktown Sports, Stiles and Watkins. Alan Stiles held it down in the morning. I'm holding it down in the middays with my guy, Brenden Nunes, who is off-site in Southern California. Speaking of, I guess, just being off-site, former Fresno State and current Sacramento Kings big man Orlando Robinson will be playing near you in the Fresno Pro-Am. Near-ish. Are we calling Fresno close? Is it kind of like falls in the middle of, like, it's definitely a trek, but it's not, we're not going all the way down to Southern California. So Orlando Robinson, for those out in the Fresno area or who just want to make a little trip of it, will be playing in the Fresno Pro-Am. This is Quincy Pondexter tweeted it out, so I assume he'll be out there as well. Fresno native. That will be when will that? That'll be at Clovis North High School on August 10th. You can go check that out and get a sneak peek of the Sacramento Kings' new big man. And while we're talking about getting a little sneak peek of a Sacramento King during summer action, let's talk a little bit about DeMar DeRozan. The marvelous one has been going crazy in the Drew League. We touched on it a little bit on Friday, but in the first round of the Drew League playoffs on Friday, which happened after we just almost immediately after me and Brenden got off on Friday, DeRozan went off, dropping 45 points, 8 rebounds, en route to a 101-79 win over the Task Force. Love these Drew League names. And then yesterday in overtime, DeMar DeRozan continued his good play, 22 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists. Again, this is in Drew League, so definitely take it with a grain of salt, but you absolutely love to see your NBA superstar going crazy in the Drew League. Brenden, did you see any clips of DeMar in the Drew League? And just in general, what are your thoughts on him absolutely cooking the competition?
Yeah, saw some clips. I'm going to say right now, though, PSA, make these easier to watch. I was
Please.
trying so hard yesterday
to
figure out where I could watch this. I'm asking around. Nobody has any clue. It seems like they used to do NBA TV through the NBA app. Couldn't figure it out for the life of me. And I got to say, that was very agitating. So anybody can help. I would love some help with that. I've seen some clips, and I think my big takeaway from a lot of just watching DeMar do different offseason basketball. He competes in this very often. Obviously, there was a couple years ago, I want to say it's during the lockout, actually, where he teams up with LeBron James out there in the league. They have a game where they combine for nearly 80 points out there. But this guy clearly loves basketball.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value in that. So I think that you see it in a lot of these games. The creativity that he talks about is a big reason of why he loves the sport of basketball. And you see that in his game shows in these sort of environments, and a willingness to go back to the community and still want to embrace that, and vice versa. I think just speaks a lot about DeMar's character more than anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point. Obviously, Drew League happens in your neck of the woods right now in Southern California. DeMar obviously being from there, it's probably a really big staple just in general to be a hooper down in Southern California and play there. So you love DeMar. Just like you said, I mean, clearly it's somebody who loves ball. On Friday I posed the question or posed this topic as, do you like your guys playing summer ball? Obviously, Chet Holmgren gets hurt a couple years ago playing in the Pro-Am. It's good to, I guess in a way, it's good to see DeMar doesn't care about things like that. It's kind of the argument of these guys are going to play basketball anyway. Might as well do it in a semi-competitive environment. And you love to see DeMar just kind of love the game. Who's probably not loving the game so much right now is one Trey Lyles, who has been struggling tremendously with Team Canada. Not much has been made of Trey's time in Canada. For those who are unaware, Trey Lyles is born in Canada, is playing with Team Canada right now in the Olympics, and has really struggled throughout the group stage. Team Canada clinched their spot in the quarterfinals of the 24 Paris Olympics after beating Australia, Greece and Spain in Group A. Lyles has almost fallen out of the rotation at this point. He's averaging 10.6 minutes a game. He's only contributing 2 points per game, 1.3 rebounds, has 1 assist per game. And his shooting splits are absolutely terrible. 22% from the field, 25% from three, 50% from the free throw line. He only has a combined 6 points through his 3 games so far. Brenden, should we read anything into this? Is this maybe a sign that Trey Lyles is just kind of that role player and nothing more, nothing less, or is this kind of a situation much like we see from Team USA sometimes where maybe the role just isn't there for him?
Yeah, I don't think it's nothing. I mean, the best players are going to shine no matter what. And obviously we're not expecting Trey to be that guy. They have a lot of really talented guys on this team. But the other aspect I kind of consider here is the guys that are playing over him have been on Team Canada for a really long time. Like Dwight Powell is a vet of this team and clearly has a role. Kelly Olynyk, if I'm not mistaken, was the captain of the team during the FIBA run. And I don't know who they titled that this season. But, you would like to see Trey just seamlessly fit in a little bit more. I think the shooting percentages are probably the most concerning aspect, but also it's a different brand of basketball, obviously. And I think that when you're on a team where these guys have played together for a really long time and maybe Trey not quite to the same extent, that doesn't give you the best upper hand in that aspect in my mind. What is interesting to me is that this is Jordi Fernandez leading this team, who obviously was just an assistant under Sacramento for 2 seasons with Trey Lyles here. So you'd imagine they'd have a solid relationship there, but I can't help but, just piece that together and wonder a little bit if it says anything about Jordy's perspective on Trey having more time around him. But I would think that it's more of what I mentioned with the former of just some of these other guys are kind of the vets OGs of the team. This might be Dwight Powell's last time competing in the Olympics, and maybe it's the same for Kelly Olynyk and guys that have given so much to Canada basketball that I'd imagine they have a little bit of a longer leash. But for sure, Trey could have played himself into a bigger role than he has up to this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the point you make about Olynyk and Dwight Powell is probably the right one. I was looking, as I was looking at the Canada roster, I kind of noticed Trey is just listed as a center, and you might say, oh, whatever, it's just an administrative thing. They just had to put him at something. But I think it really does highlight, especially when you point it out like that, that maybe this just isn't the right fit for Trey, and that, the way that this team is built out, Trey, as we know, is kind of more of your typical power forward. And if they, because of their roster, if they run RJ Barrett or guys more like that at the 4, you can understand how maybe, okay, there's a big difference in asking Trey Lyles to guard the 4s of the world versus, okay, now, for example, I mean, Canada is on tomorrow. Tomorrow they will be playing France in the elimination stage in the quarterfinal matchup. Like, I don't know what Trey Lyles is supposed to do when he's matched up with Victor Wembanyama and or Rudy Gobert. That just kind of doesn't feel like the kind of matchup that Trey's going to thrive in.
And they have a deep team. Like, you look at the Canada team, it's deeper than Sacramento's team, obviously. But he's going to be lower on the totem pole than he is even playing for his Sacramento team. So even you mentioned RJ Barrett, there's like Lou Dort out there who should be playing a lot of minutes, guy that can fill in and do a little bit of everything. Dylan Brooks, very similar. And some of the guards as well. Obviously, it's hard to figure out he's not directly competing with the guards, but if you have a lot of talented guards and SGA, Jamal Murray, and you could keep going down the line, sometimes you're going to run some smaller lineups out there. And so I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. Like I said, Trey definitely could have played himself into a little bit of a better role, but I think we're also seeing game by game, it can be a little situational of, you may not want to put him on Wemby necessarily, obviously, not a starting matchup, but his size could help a little bit when you're playing some of these larger teams. So if there were a team where I would hope that he could get a little bit more run, it probably is France.
Yeah, I would hope so, because we know Trey can be quite the difference maker. I mean, infamously, the game in which we kind of first saw Trey Lyles at the 5 was against Rudy Gobert and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So definitely could be a nice counter matchup for Canada and Jordy to go against. We'll see how that plays out. Again, that game, France versus Canada, is tomorrow. That'll be a very, very exciting matchup as we start to get to like the nitty gritty of the finals of the Olympics men's basketball. I mean, we're pretty soon here. I believe by the end of this week, we're going to have a gold medalist in that competition. So excited to see how that shakes out. And I believe if you look at Team USA's side of the bracket, it's pretty favorable for them, but pretty tough for all of the other big clubs that are going to be out there trying to take gold away from the U.S. Coming up next, we're going to talk with a Chicago Bulls insider and try and get more to know about DeMar DeRozan. We're going to talk with Jason Patt of the Cash Considerations podcast with Blue Wire, also the editorial director over at Clutch Points. Really excited to get Jason's thoughts on DeMar DeRozan and frankly everything else that's going on in Chicago, because they seem like an absolute mess right now. You're listening to Stiles and Watkins right here on Sacktown Sports 1140.
Did you miss any part of our live local shows? Don't worry, you never have to miss them again. Check out sacktownsports.com and search our podcast page and play our shows when you want. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and The Drive Guys. Plus, other podcasts like Return of the Empire, Return of the Roar, The Stingers Up podcast, and Golf to Go with Frank LaRosa.
They're all available right now on sacktownsports.com.
Where do you go when you need someone to represent you? For me, you want someone that is local and that you can actually get to and talk with. There are plenty of big branded lawyers out there with the name, but you never get to talk to them. So go to sacklegaldefense.com and connect with the law offices of Jonathan Gonzalez. He's local, he'll represent you, and he'll have your back. Whether it's expungements, wrongful termination, when you're in a spot when you need legal help, call the law offices of Jonathan Gonzalez at 916-304-9187.
I'm a very active person that likes to move around and go. The pain I was in was really excruciating. It was actually debilitating. I was basically heading towards a sedentary lifestyle. I had really tried everything, but I quickly lost hope with all of the things that we had tried, and that's what led me to the Good Feet store. And when I found the Good Feet system, it really just changed everything. It brought me back to life. I have my active lifestyle back.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Power comes in many forms. The beloved power nap, the enviable power couple, the celebrated power hitter. But around here, Kohl's Cash is power. And if you earned it recently, it's time for your power trip to Kohl's. Will you redeem your Kohl's Cash on those Adidas sneakers you've been eyeing? Will you flex at the block party with that new ice cream maker? Will you replace your kids' favorite shorts because they outgrew them again? However you redeem your Kohl's Cash before it expires, more power to ya. Not valid on Sephora at Kohl's. Additional exclusions may apply.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At aimyourdigital.com, we'll help you target the right audience, build your leads, and crush your quota. Take your business to the next level. Our digital marketing strategies help grow awareness of your product or service, all while building trust in your business. Our approach involves leveraging multiple tools and strategies to deliver exceptional results that are customized to your unique business needs. Don't wait to run out of sales leads. Keep your business growing. Get started with aimyourdigital.com today.
There was always a crowd gathered around our dining table when I was growing up. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. Everyone was welcome at my mother's table, so holidays, birthdays, and celebrations always included family and friends. I used to think I was the most popular kid in the neighborhood until I realized that my friends were really there for my mother's incredible cooking. Years later, when I bought my own dining table from Naturewood, I made sure it was large enough to make friends feel welcome. And right now, during Naturewood Home Furnishings Dine in Style sale, you have an opportunity to find the perfect dining room furniture to help you create your own treasured memories. Choose from casual to formal or anything in between. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings during the Dine in Style sale off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
Michael Dave here for Capital Casino. Sacramento summertime heat is back. And, of course, Cap Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room, wants to invite everyone to soak up some air conditioning, still with the most variety of table games in the region. And, as always, the best food, best service, and the best action, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. Capital Casino, of course, reminding everyone to please make sure you gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Live and local. This is Sacktown Sports.
Stiles and Watkins about to be joined in a second by Jason Pat, editorial director for Clutch Points and co-host of the Cash Considerations podcast. Very excited to talk some DeMar DeRozan, talk about the state of the Chicago Bulls. But first things first, Jason, the first thing I want to ask you, Jason, is I see the White Sox are in the middle of a 20-game losing streak. I see the Chicago Cubs are kind of floundering about in the wild card standings right now. You have the Bulls seemingly in complete disarray, but you have Caleb Williams, you have Devin Hester getting elected to the NFL Hall of Fame. What is the state of Chicago sports right now?
Yeah, mostly pretty terrible. But as you mentioned, the Bears, who are usually terrible, might be the one beacon of hope going right now.
How was that? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I was like, the Blackhawks are also bad. They had kind of a guard, but they were also terrible this last season. I think they picked like second or third. So the hope is that maybe it's going to be the Bears. I mean, the Bears, again, have basically never had a good quarterback, like ever. You've had the Justin Fields thing didn't work out. Mitch Trubisky didn't work out. So now you get Caleb Williams, and they've built a really nice team around him. Just crossing those fingers that the Bears QB curse does not also befall Caleb Williams, because if that happens, like, Chicago sports will get even more miserable than it already is.
Well, I'm a Vikings fan, but I'll be rooting for Justin Fields. I definitely not Justin Fields. I'm sorry. Wow, what a Freudian slip. I will be rooting for Caleb Williams. Definitely hope the best for him and hope he can be as big of a star as he possibly can, because he looks like he can be definitely a very, very big superstar with his personality and all, and with his style of play. First and foremost, Jason, I want to ask you about DeMar DeRozan. We've talked a lot about just him on the floor and his possible impact, but it seems to me like off the floor, you will not hear a single person have a single bad thing to say about this guy. I know he was working out with Dalen Terry or brought him to the Drew League as well. What does DeMar bring off the floor in terms of his character?
Yeah, I mean, DeMar, true professional, a great leader. He's obviously done all that work with the mental health stuff as well. He's kind of been a leader in that regard there too. I know he did a lot of stuff just with the Bulls in terms of their training camps. I know they made a big deal about, I can't remember even where they went to training camp last year, but it was a big deal about kind of leaving the Chicago area and like going to camps. And he's worked out with the young guys. You mentioned Dalen Terry. He's done stuff with Patrick Williams, Kobe White, all those guys. And I think he's definitely, definitely think that DeMar's presence probably helped Kobe White's development, both on and off the court. It's just leadership stuff and just working with him during the offseason, helping the skill development, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, obviously DeMar's been in the league for a long time. You know what he brings on the court, but off the court too. Yeah, I mean, he's just a true pro. Like I said, a good veteran leader voice to have. Obviously, bring that to Sacramento.
We're joined by Jason Pat, editorial director for Clutch Points, co-host of Cash Considerations podcast focused on the Chicago Bulls. Brenden here, Jason. Thanks for hopping on the show, man. You just mentioned the way that DeMar's kind of helped out some of the young guys. I think a point of concern when it comes to Sacramento's perspective is Keegan Murray being such a focal point of this team and him needing to take the next steps growing forward. Would you mind just diving a little bit more into how you noticed DeMar helping these guys and your faith in his willingness to obviously play a role and step up when need be, but recognize a moment of, Kobe White had a huge game last year, hits a game winner at the end, and DeMar's willing to kind of play back seat there. How would you imagine, and what's your thought on how he can help Keegan Murray develop?
Yeah, I mean, just like in terms of just working with guys and like doing the off-season kind of stuff and just like that kind of thing, I think will be helpful. So we saw that happen in Chicago, where he kind of took those young guys under his wing. Then again, off-season workouts during the season, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, we saw Kobe, especially after Zach LaVine went out, kind of opened a spot for Kobe to slide in next to DeMar as a primary scoring option, primary ball handler. And we saw Kobe just take a huge step. And it definitely there was one big point of contention among Bulls fans for sure last year, was that DeMar was so good in the clutch and won the Bulls so many clutch games. But I know a lot of fans were like, oh, I want to see more Kobe down in crunch time. I want to see more Kobe. And it still was mostly DeMar, and that will be interesting to watch, considering De'Aaron Fox is also a great crunch time player. You talk about Keegan Murray and having him develop. So how they kind of divvy that up will be interesting to see in terms of, again, who's got the ball when it matters in crunch time. Is Keegan Murray going to have to take a step back? Is DeMar going to have to take his own step back? I think he probably will have to, going to just a better team with a guy like De'Aaron Fox, with a young guy like Keegan Murray. So we'll be interesting to see. I mean, again, DeMar is such a professional, and if he wants to win, I mean, he's been with the Bulls here. Obviously, things just did not go very well. They only won one playoff game. You'd hope that DeMar at this point, he's 35, would be willing to take a step back and kind of let those young guys shine at times. But there will definitely be times. I mean, I think the Kings last year blew a bunch of games. Against the Bulls, I think they blew like a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter, and DeMar outscored them himself in the fourth quarter. When those things happen, and if the game starts getting away from them, and you need someone to just kind of like settle things down, slow the pace down, go get you a bucket. DeMar can do that for you. So like having that option there alongside a guy like De'Aaron Fox, and also with Keegan Murray, it'll be interesting to see how that plays on. But I think DeMar, if all goes well, I could see it working.
Jason, I'm curious. I mean, in the research that I was doing when DeMar initially got moved here, it seemed as if there was some questions about DeMar's fit even in Chicago initially. Couldn't find the specifics. So if you could provide what specifically did people have concerns about his fit when he first initially arrived in Chicago, and then did those fit questions end up being accurate, or was it kind of overblown? Because it does feel like here right now in Sacramento, a lot of people have questions about DeMar's fit. And really, I mean, there was an ESPN poll the other day from GMs and scouts saying that DeMar might have been one of the worst moves of the offseason, specifically because of the fit here in Sacramento.
Yeah, so I think the initial pushback with the Bulls DeMar signing was just the contract they gave him. It was like, I think it was 3 years, $81 million. And like, there were rumors at the time, like, oh, is DeMar going to like take the mid-level with the Clippers or Lakers? And then like the Bulls come in over the top with this $27 million a year offer. And it's like, oh, I mean, that's just way too much for a 31, 32-year-old DeMar DeRozan, who had kind of been toiling with the Spurs on like whatever mediocre to bad Spurs teams. It's like, oh, DeMar's just like not that guy anymore. And then the first season in Chicago, he was absolutely incredible. The Bulls were first in the East for about 3 quarters of the way through the season. They were, I think, like 20 games over 500 or something like that. And then the Lonzo Ball injury obviously hurt, and they kind of fell apart down the stretch. But DeMar himself was incredible, and he had a string of clutch performances, and he was going in like Michael Jordan territory with like his 40-point games on like 50% shooting. And the first year he was incredible. He definitely has taken a bit of a step back, but even last year, again, he won them so many games. The Bulls had one of the best clutch records in the league last year. He was one of the leaders in the NBA in clutch plus minus. He was second, I think, in clutch scoring behind Steph Curry. I think he was second in that clutch award. So he won them so many games. And like in terms of like the fit with the Bulls, there were, I think, some do him and Zach LaVine fit together? And there was, I think, some kind of push-pull going on there. Because Zach had been with the Bulls for a while, and he was kind of the top guy, and then DeMar came in there and kind of took that away from him. But obviously, like, Zach LaVine has never won anything with the Bulls, really good player. But we kind of have seen how things have played out with him and how he's viewed around the league. So, like, I think DeMar, like, kind of taking like that alpha spot from him might have maybe caused some ruffles there, and there have been questions about if they're the best fit. But I mean, again, the Bulls just haven't been very good. Because I don't think it was DeMar's fault. I mean, the problem is if like DeMar's your best player, like you're not going to be that good at this point because he has flaws, and in an NBA that is all about 3-point shooting, like DeMar is just not a 3-point shooter, and if the Bulls didn't shoot many threes in general, and some of that is because DeMar's heavy usage. So like some of the inherent flaws of this game are just going to limit your ceiling, but like overall, as what he gave the Bulls was incredible, way more than I ever thought he would. And you look at the Kings, like I know the Kings kind of tried the run it back thing last year, the continuity which the Bulls also tried again this season that didn't work, and it kind of backfired on the Kings. They kind of just stagnated. They obviously did not make the top 8 after losing in the play-in. And if you look at like the options this offseason, like I know there were like Brenden Ingram rumors, and there's like the Lowry Markkanen rumors, but like given what they like gave up to get DeMar, like I feel like getting DeMar is, if you're going to choose between like DeMar and Brenden Ingram at this point, like paying Brenden Ingram, I feel like what they did to sign DeMar makes plenty of sense. Again, I do understand the fit questions, as I kind of mentioned before, when you have Fox and Sabonis and Murray there already, but in terms of just like a pure talent level like play, I think it made some sense given the alternatives there. The Kings had to do something. Could it backfire? Because again, he's 35, sure, and there are some fit questions. But I mean, DeMar has been durable. Again, he's a clutch savant still, and I don't think that's going to like go away this season. Again, he's going to age and decline somewhat, but given there are some other good players there with Fox and Sabonis, and having some other guys that take some pressure off him, that should hopefully help him. So while I do understand some of the fit questions, I also get why the Kings made the move, and I totally understand why they'd rather have done that as opposed to trading for someone like Brenden Ingram, who's kind of similar. He's like a younger version of DeMar, but probably not as good and injury prone. So it will be fascinating to see how it plays out though, given just after watching DeMar for 3 years here and seeing just like how much better that he was than I was thinking, if he'll be able to translate that to Sacramento.
Yeah, Jason, I think that in that debate that you mentioned between considering contracts with Ingram seemed to be something that was going on internally as well with a lot of these other guys too, whether you want to throw Kuzma in there or Lauri Markkanen in those conversations as well. But one other thing you mentioned is kind of when Lonzo was there, how they were really clicking. And that's when the Bulls were playing really fast. And DeMar has never been on a top 10 pace team. The closest he's gotten is his rookie year under Jay Triano, reaching 11th. Obviously something the Kings really try to do with what is probably one of, if not the fastest players in the league in De'Aaron Fox. And it's not just full court, but also half court as well. And obviously DeMar, a guy that sometimes will take a dribble or two and kind of catch a rhythm. So curious what you saw on those teams when Lonzo was healthy and they're running the floor really well, how DeMar fit into that, because sometimes you can almost get a title of a ball stopper in a way, which is just probably a little harsh, but slows down the pace a bit. So what did you see when he was on that team where Chicago was playing fast?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they were. I'd have to look back at the pace stats. Like, I don't think they were playing like super fast, but I mean, the ball was definitely moving. I mean, Lonzo was just like a great connecting piece between all those guys with DeMar, Zach, and Vooch, and they have kind of a nice little thing going with all those guys in that lineup, and it really just all clicked. And then again, and DeMar would just close games out for him. He was, and that is like you talk about the playing fast and all that. Like games just naturally slow down though in those fourth quarters, and that kind of brings back to like whatever the game speeds up. It's fast throughout. You want to play like that, but when you need to slow that game down and need to control the ball and control those games in crunch time. Like that's where I think DeMar will still really shine. It will be will be interesting to see how he does fit with playing up tempo with Fox. Like I think I'm sure DeMar will not want to play like 40. And DeMar played like 40 minutes a game for the last like 3 or 4 months of the season last year, which is crazy. I think he'll probably be looking forward to playing a little less, and that should hopefully help him work into a faster playing style. And again, he's a smart passer as well. So like it's not like he's like just like does he slow the ball down sometimes? Yes, but he can make the right reads and make the right passes and move the ball pretty well. Because again, is he going to be running up and down the court like some of these other guys? No. But as long as he's not just like constantly pounding the ball into the ground and just making the right reads and making the right passes, which he can do. I think he's a good bit underrated as a passer still. I think he can kind of work into that high pace. Because again, we did see it with the Bulls when they had Lonzo and the ball was moving better and Lonzo was kind of running that point. So I think he can definitely still do it. And again, then when the game does slow down in the fourth quarter, when the playoffs come around, naturally, again, the pace kind of slows down there too. I know DeMar's had some playoff concerns, but again, that's more as like a top option. And now he's not going to be quite that anymore. Then having that guy who can kind of control pace and slow things down when needed, control the ball, not turn the ball over, not make bad decisions. DeMar should be able to help that. So there'll be some kind of a good like balance there between Fox looking to play fast, and then DeMar being there and it can slow the pace down when needed too.
Jason, Pat, thank you so much for joining us. Editorial director for Clutch Points and co-host of the Cash Considerations podcast focusing on the Chicago Bulls. Absolutely fantastic insight from you, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be wishing you and the city of Chicago sports luck this entire rest of this season. So thank you so much for joining us, Jason.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm hoping as well that we can see some bright light in Chicago sports. Because it's been really tough. I'm luckily not a White Sox fan, but I'm a Cubs fan, and they've been miserable too. So it's been a brutal summer of Chicago sports. So they'll be hoping for some better luck moving forward.
Definitely. We'll be rooting for it with you as well. Thank you so much, Jason. Again, editorial director for Clutch Points and co-host of the Cash Considerations podcast. Jason Pat. Appreciate you, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of interesting stuff in there. We'll definitely get to that. The DeMar versus Brandon Ingram conversation, I definitely think is an interesting one. But coming up next, we are going to talk some Noah Lyles, and we'll dive into it. What is a world champion, and should the NBA and NFL and other leagues like that claim the moniker of being the world champion? We discuss that next, right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports 1140.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
Hello, Sacramento. I'm Emran Pilati, owner of True Sports Cards and Collectible Store here in Rockland, California, and the host of the True Sports Cards Show that airs right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we discuss the latest trends, hottest products, and deliver exclusive interviews with other industry leaders. And don't forget to visit our shop, True Sports Cards, at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road in Rockland, and see what we have for all your sports card and memorabilia needs.
Sacramento, Dirks Bentley's coming to town. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Farmally, Tyler Rich, Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com. Brought to you by The Scoundrel Red Wine, Naturewood Home Furnishings, and Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
Hey, what's up, Sacramento? It's Kyle Draper. Turn up the cleanliness at your restaurant, healthcare, or industrial business with Alsco Uniforms, the official sponsor of the Sacramento Kings Mop Crew. We've got you covered with crisp uniforms, hygienically clean linens, floor mats, and of course, mops delivered weekly. But that's not all. Alsco Uniforms also offers weekly services for first aid and restroom supplies. Discover why it pays to keep clean with Alsco Uniforms. Just go to alsco.com to learn more. Again, that's ALSCO.com.
Curry
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
We're going to hit a little bit of an audible, and we're going to talk about Noah Lyles in about 10 minutes because honestly, it's too beefy, it's too juicy of a segment to just try and condense into this little bit of a shorter segment that we have right here. So definitely going to talk about Noah Lyles and what is truly a world champion. The conversation that either nobody's asking for or everybody's going to have thoughts on. Noah Lyles, of course, made big headlines a couple months ago for those comments. So we'll get into that at 11 o'clock. First things first, I do want to do a little bit of a lighter segment. I think this is more definitely in the fun department and a little bit more informational than actual analysis. But I saw this on The Athletic and felt like it had to be shared, especially because I know I try and fight for, a little bit here. I'm not going to act like I'm some champion, but I do like to fight for Raider coverage being prevalent on these airwaves. I think, we can get a little bit lost in the Niner of it all because obviously the Raiders moved out and, just from a programming sense, a lot of people will tell you, oh, okay, they're gone. That means that interest isn't quite there. But I think a lot of people personally in my life are massive Raider fans. And I would love to hear about a story like this where it's not all doom and gloom. This isn't about the Raiders quarterback situation. It's not about, should they trade Devontae Adams or anything like that. It's actually some fun. It's about how Antonio Pierce takes his team bonding incredibly seriously, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought this is fantastic. This is a quote from the Athletic article. You can go read about it right now. Fantastic website over there. They said, quote, this is from Antonio Pierce. We had Rob Ryan, brother of Rex Ryan, which should tell you all you need to know aesthetically about this man. So we had Rob Ryan out there with his shirt off and belly out. We had Marvin Lewis, who's 65 years old. And we had Joe Philbin on a bike. Joe Philbin, former Dolphins head coach, and, frankly, a wrinkly old man. So I say all this to say the Las Vegas Raiders, more specifically Antonio Pierce, thought it would be important because who doesn't love it? Anyone who's ever been on a team, any sort of team environment. It's one thing when the players are out there doing suicides, when they're, doing sprints, wind sprints or whatever, doing mile runs or anything like that for conditioning. But when you can do every so often, usually on Friday practices, coaches will tell you, hey, you guys get this drill 100% right. If nobody messes this up, we'll do conditioning for you. And that's when everybody all of a sudden locks in like it's game 7. No one's ever had any more focus than they will in these moments. And that's essentially what the Raiders coaching staff did. It was a scaled down version of the player conditioning test, which has become slightly infamous throughout the years for players failing it and not being up to NFL conditioning standards. So Antonio Pierce thought it'd be fun to have his coaches do a scaled down conditioning test with interval runs, on-field drills, and weight room bars to hit. Pierce gave his 28 coaches a heads up in the early offseason that they would be tested in April. They actually finally did the test, I believe, the other day. So actually, so gave them a good bit of time. There's reports that Rob Ryan lost upwards of 10 pounds to get ready for this. Pierce said he simply wants his coaches to be healthier, to come together like the players have. He thought that the players would get the message hidden underneath all the laughter. He said, quote, when you look at the coaches in the National Football League, health is probably the number one concern, Pierce said. Stress level, being overweight, not having a chance to work out. I wanted to challenge our coaches, and I also thought it would be good for our players to see the commitment that even our coaches have in making the offseason. When asked if everyone passed, he said, yeah, one coach finished, but he limped on. He limped the last 10 yards, and he made it. Brenden, I love to hear stories like this. You and I talk about a version of this, and it's where I want to take it. The Sacramento Kings specifically, to me, seem to have the most in-shape coaching staff in the entire NBA. I'm pretty confident if there's a 5-on-5 tournament, the Kings coaches would win hands down. Do you have any arguments?
Yeah, I'd have to rack my brain and think of other teams out there. I think losing Davidas Dolkis is a decent cost in this. Played college ball at FSU with Luke Laux, but you got Doug Christie, you got Leandro Barbosa.
Come on.
There's a couple more in there.
Mike Brown played in college.
Yeah, Mike Brown played in college, and he will tell you that his team beat Doug Christie's team. I don't know about the stat lines for the individuals necessarily, but they could definitely put a squad out there that I think would compete with a lot of guys. But I think that seeing those levels of competition where you are having a team where, like I said, say Laux, Barbosa, and Doug Christie are out there playing defense against these guys and some 3-on-3, I think is a connective thing with some of the players. It gains a level of respect from these guys. Obviously, being former players as well helps with that process. But I think that there's an aspect of, if the coaches are doing it, then I really got to do it. There's times we're going in that facility, and obviously Doug Christie's not that far removed, but he's doing defensive slides going up and down the court diagonally. He's a little bit of a crazy guy out there in the best way possible. But I definitely think that it matters and it helps. And the one thing I'll say about the Antonio Pierce part is that when he, like you said, when he gets asked, did every coach really pass? He says one coach finished, but he limped in. Are we just saying like that's the one that limped in, or is that the only coach that finished? You know what I mean?
I would guess it's probably the only coach that finished. I mean, maybe they have some assistant DB coaches or something like that are in pretty decent shape. And as I think about it too, JJ Redick probably has a decent case with his current coaching staff.
And they got Lindsey Harding.
They have Lindsey now. But let's not sleep on Jay Triano. Brenden, you and I both know specifically Jay Triano has to be the best passer of any coach in the NBA. I'm talking Coach Rondo-ish. Would love to see a little, maybe, it can be 3-on-3, but I do think the Kings coaches would have a pretty decent shout if they had a full league of NBA coaches. We're going to get into the Noah Lyles stuff as I see there is track events going on. I don't believe it's Noah Lyles. I think I saw the steeplechase in a minute for a minute there. And I think this is 200 qualifier. So we're going to talk about Noah Lyles and that world champion quote that made him kind of a bit of public enemy number one in NBA circles. We'll talk about that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave inviting you to make the switch to electric this spring and save big with American Energy. Stay ahead of the spiking energy bills this summer with up to $9,000 in rebates on a new ultra-high efficiency comfort system. American Energy is providing huge rebates from SMUD as well as spring specials by installing one of many incredibly efficient AC options available to you right now. Get rid of those fluctuating gas bills in the winter and switch to year-round all-electric with American Energy. Let them perform a free in-home energy efficiency analysis and see where they can help you save for the warmer months ahead. These guys are the best. Been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1981. A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Learn more by calling 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Bianna's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This year, Dell Technologies' Back to School event is delivering impressive tech with an inspiring purpose. Learn how Dell is helping Computer Aid, whose work is helping solar community hubs with tech and AI literacy skills to empower remote, displaced, or disconnected communities around the world. Help Dell make a difference and shop AI-ready PCs powered by Snapdragon X Series processors at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Are you tired of your tee shots ending up in the adjoining fairway while the rest of your foursome is hitting it down the middle? Well, experts will tell you that being properly fitted for golf clubs will help you strike your drive center cut. The Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio and its team of trained PGA professionals are ready to help you get rid of your banana balls and duck hooks. Hagen Oaks Indoor-Outdoor Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle Draper from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. About 6 months ago, I got my new Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV, and it's the best car driving experience I've ever had. And I'm here to tell you Mercedes-Benz of Stockton not only has cars and SUVs, they also have Sprinter vans. That's right. So if you're a company looking for a new fleet of vehicles, check out my friends at Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. And Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans will haul anything you put in them, and your crew members will love driving them. So head on down to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton right now. They have special rates starting at 4.9% APR and an $8,000 discount on over 30 vans in stock. Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans. They are ready to customize for any use. So head on down to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton today, just a short drive down I-5, or anytime at mbofstockton.com. That's mbofstockton.com. Tell them your boy Drape sent you.
Keep your family cool and comfortable this summer with Bell Brothers' best summer ever financing event. When you replace your AC system, we're offering 0 payments, 0 interest for 6 months on approved credit, then low fixed rate thereafter. That's right, 0 payments, 0 interest for 6 months on any new AC system. It's an incredible offer on an incredible new AC system, but only for a limited time. This offer is also available on any plumbing, water heater, or insulation projects over $1,000. So call Bell Brothers now. Your family will thank you, because they'll be cool and comfortable. But you have to hurry. Our offer for 0 payment, 0 interest for 6 months, then low fixed rate thereafter ends soon. Estimates and second opinions are free. So call now to keep your family cool and comfortable during Bell Brothers' best summer ever event. Our number is 916-444-1234, or find us online at theNoSurpriseGuys.com. That's theNoSurpriseGuys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, your new home for 49ers football in the 916.
Sacktown Sports.
Get
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
Stiles and Watkins. Alan Stiles held it down in the mornings. I'm going to hold it down in the middays. Chris Watkins here, joined by Brenden Nunes yet again. He joined us on Friday. He'll be joining us later in this week as well. I was talking about watching the steeplechases. I've definitely got a lot of questions for that event. Mainly why the water? It just doesn't make sense. I get the hurdle aspect of it, but they literally just jump in the water and then immediately get out of it. Someone's got to explain that one to me. What is the point? Who came up with that hurdle initially? Just a lot of questions about the Olympics. Also saw here, we're going to talk about the White Sox potentially making history and Blake Snell making history with his no-hitter. But thought I should note that a lot of people, especially on socials, are saying to for a little prop talk action to hammer the Nick Castellanos home run today. As we, for those who are stock inclined, the stocks are incredibly down, as are cryptos, and so a lot of people are saying, with big news comes big bombs, and that is Nick Castellanos special right there. So definitely might want to hit up your local degenerate and let them know that. And again, we'll be talking about Blake Snell and the White Sox probably around 11:45-ish, so definitely don't want to miss that. If you just missed our conversation with Jason Patt of the Cash Considerations podcast, also editorial director over there at Clutch Points, you can probably, I'd imagine it's up now. Our writers and our digital staff are usually fairly quick at getting those things up. I know we're taking one of their best men with Brenden Nunes here, but I'd like to think that we can still pick up Brendan's slack and get that up fairly quickly. So you can go check that out over on the Sacktown Sports 1140 YouTube. But let's talk about the man of the last 24 hours, I guess. And again, he will continue to try and make history, becoming potentially the first American since Carl Lewis to win the 100 and 200 in the same Olympics. And that is one Noah Lyles. Now, all the way back in August 2023 at a press conference at the end of the World Championships in Budapest, Noah Lyles had some things to say that got the people going. Lyles criticized the NBA's notion of labeling themselves as world champions. Here is what Mr. Lyles had to say all the way back in August 23.
You know, the thing that hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA Finals and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the U.S. at times, but that ain't the world. That is not the world. We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show that they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA.
First off, I will just say that I appreciate Noah Lyles' his attitude, I guess you could say. Like, I do love the fun nature in which he's saying it. Like, I'm very confident that he does actually believe that, but just his delivery is absolutely A1. Brenden, first and foremost, had you heard those comments before everything kind of got resurfaced yesterday?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, at the time, a bunch of NBA players end up responding to him. And I'm with you, by the way, just the way that he speaks there is so world champions of what?
World champions of what?
What?
Yeah, we got to get
So
that
good.
cut.
And honestly, I very much understand where he's coming from. Like he's going on a technicality here.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. The NBA has the best players in the world. I'm sure he's aware of that. If you're one of the best players overseas, you're probably going to try
you're
to
definitely
come
are.
to the U.S.
Look at Sasha Vezenkov.
Exactly. So, you know, I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I get the other end where NBA players are going to feel a little bit offended or, you know, in their feelings about it. But he's right on a technicality.
He's definitely right on a technicality, but he kind of gets lost when you start to think of, oh, like you said, I mean, all of the best international players are already, you don't have to rep your flag because, yeah, Nikola Jokic is from Serbia. Like, you know, it is still a combination of the world's best talent. And, you know, I mean, technically, they're not the American champion. I guess you could say North American champions. With there being a team in Canada, you can technically claim the world champion moniker. But it definitely, I mean, I get where he's coming from. Like you said, he's technically not wrong. But at the same time, do we also need to have a tournament where the Boston Celtics play Fenerbahce and FC Barcelona in order to know that they're the best team? Like that's just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know how that would go, right? If we saw that play out. So I get the perspective. And Devin Booker had some comments on it this morning as well. And for what it's worth, Devin Booker was also the one out there at the event supporting on Noah Lyles,
right?
But had some things to say. And then on the other end, I think when this all initially happened, that audio that you guys just played, Giannis was one that came out and said that he agrees with them. So there's definitely both sides to play, but it's going to be the best team in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they need to do it, but you're right. Like Giannis did immediately come out and support Noah Lyles. He said, I've honestly been kind of thinking that for a while. But some of the NBA responses, even at the time, you had Kevin Durant say, somebody help this brother. That was him in response to that. Devin Booker actually initially did post on Instagram a comment that had the facepalm emoji initially. So he clearly, like you said, he did have some comments that we'll read here in a second. But apparently initially was not on Team Lyles. Damian Lillard said TF as in the F with some laughing emojis. Aaron Gordon said, whatever, I'm smoking buddy in the 200 meter. That's just ridiculous. Tyus Jones said, yeah, this ain't it. I believe this is Juan Toscano Anderson said, last time I checked, the NBA was the best competition in the world. Udonis Haslam says, big fan, but gone with that bull, bruh. Hashtag suckers. And then, yes, like you said, Devin Booker did come out the other day and back Noah Lyles. He said, quote, I still don't agree with the comment Booker told The Athletic. And I believe this is Sam Amick that he's telling this to. I feel like all the best talent in the world is in the NBA, and this coming from an Olympic gold medalist who believes that being an NBA champion is probably harder to do. That's, again, we talked earlier, Devin Booker saying that winning an NBA title is actually tougher than winning an Olympic gold. That statement was said, Booker said, I think how it was said, you know, it was just out of context, which it definitely was not said out of context. I feel like it was something that was weighing on his heart for a long time. He's gained a lot of following since then. He held it down, though, so congrats to him. So actually not really ever backing Noah Lyles' comments, actually just kind of saying, I think he was misunderstood, and I agree with what I interpret as the misunderstanding. So a little bit of confusion, it sounds like, still there from Devin Booker. But I do want to ask you, Brenden, I mean, do you agree with Devin Booker in the sense that an NBA title is tougher than an Olympic title? I guess from a U.S. perspective, you could see how that would be the case.
Yeah, I think that that's a good way to think about this. And it's hard for me to not say yes. Like, I mean, I also think that from his perspective, you know, he's got to be the guy on his team. And sure, he's got Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal out there, but like, you got to be one of the main guys. It's probably a little bit easier from his perspective, his role on the Olympic team, you know, when you're surrounded by also Steph Curry, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, and you can keep going down the line. So, I mean, I think it would have to be more difficult, and it's a longer competition, right? You're obviously the 82, you got to get through, I think it's 16 wins in the postseason as well. So I think that there being more teams as well factors into it. I think pretty easily in my mind, it's probably more difficult to win an NBA championship than it is a gold medal. And you could probably just look at the history of gold medals and what percentage the U.S. has won. There's not many teams in the NBA that have a large percentage of the NBA championships. Obviously, Celtics, Lakers. If you go back in some time, you know, I had to throw that in there a little bit. But yeah, I think that it is definitely more difficult to win an NBA championship, even if it's just for there being more people competing for the same thing.
Yeah, I think perspective definitely matters on a conversation like that. Like, for sure, from Devin Booker's perspective, that makes sense. But two things. One thing, I don't want to hear Devin Booker say that because Devin Booker's never won a title. So Devin Booker kind of doesn't know what it takes to win a title, though I guess obviously not winning one, you can definitely speak to how tough it is to even get over that hurdle. But I would much rather like to hear this comment from someone like Nikola Jokic, who has won a title and is in the perspective of, I still have to elevate this team probably more than I have to elevate my club team. So yes, Devin Booker, for you, this might be a tougher situation, but I don't know if Jokic would say, I kind of feel like me uplifting a lot of actual plumbers and, you know, garbage men or whatever these guys do. I don't know. I can't imagine there's a lot of 6'5" garbage men out in Serbia, but it just to me feels like it could be a matter of perspective. And I wonder, maybe Giannis, like, what does Giannis think on a conversation like this? Because again, he's somebody who is more having to do, he obviously has to do a lot of heavy lifting for Milwaukee, but it feels like obviously going to have to do a little bit more heavy lifting when his brothers are actually playing with him.
Yeah, you have a good point. It's definitely going to be more difficult to win the Olympics than to win an NBA championship for a guy like Giannis or Jokic. And but, you know, I think that also speaks to the level of competition in the NBA, that those guys have better teams in the NBA than they do overseas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. And I would actually seriously like to know what they think about that, and if they feel like it is harder for them to win an Olympic gold, and which one means more. I mean, Jokic kind of famously was like, I don't want to go parade. Like, I'm glad the season's over. I just want to go hang out with my horses. Like, would he feel like an Olympic gold medal carries more weight than his NBA championship? I seriously think I would probably guess he would actually say an Olympic title just because of the civic pride that it brings. And yeah, again, it feels like he is lifting up maybe a little bit more with Serbia than he is with Utah. But there you go. There are our takes on Noah Lyles' comments. And, you know, I really don't have too many hot takey thoughts about Noah Lyles, except for if you're going to talk, you better win. And he won. So I don't have anything negative to say about him. I know a good bit of socials kind of was attacking him over the weekend when he had finished second in the qualifier. But of course, qualifiers don't really matter. They don't hand out golds in the qualifier. So definitely shout out Noah Lyles for bringing home the gold, at least in the 100, and definitely anticipating him getting the gold in the 200. As he said, the hard part is done, I believe was his direct quote after winning the gold last night. Someone who is not even competing in the Olympics, Lauri Markkanen, has some interesting buzz around his trade speculation and why you might not see Lauri traded this entire season. We talk about that and more next, right here, Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
School is almost here, and if there's two things I can count on, it's my kids needing new outfits because they grow like weeds, and Cole stocking their favorite styles. With the back-to-school customer appreciation event going on, I scored 30% off tees, jeans, sneakers, and more when I shopped with a Kohl's card. No card? No problem. Rewards members save 20%, and everyone else saves 15%, plus earn Kohl's Cash. When it comes to back to school, you gotta go back to Kohl's. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. Offer ends August 11th. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Sky's the limit at Sky River Casino in Elk Grove. Enjoy over 80 table games, more than 2,100 slot machines, and our thrilling high-limit room with Sky River rewards that add up and up, and 18 elevated restaurants and bars. There's something for everyone. Visit skyriver.com today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This NBA offseason has been something. The fact that we are, I don't know, I guess we're in August now. League starts up, I think preseason's late September, maybe early October. So we're pushing on only about 2 months remaining in the offseason here. I guess some would say only, some would say, man, that's a long time. But the fact that Lauri Markkanen, Kyle Kuzma, Zach LaVine, Brandon Ingram, all these names that were, it felt like at one point a guarantee to get moved this offseason. The fact that every single one of them is still on their roster is just incredible to me. And it sounds like Lauri Markkanen is just going to solidify that list even more so. And maybe with Lauri, after we talk about this, maybe Lauri being solidified in Utah does open the door for one of those other guys to get moved. But it has felt like the chip that everyone has been waiting to fall is not falling anytime soon. This is from Tony Jones today. Tony Jones of The Athletic came out and pretty much said that it's not looking good for those who are looking to buy Lauri Markkanen's stock in terms of him as a trade asset. Lauri Markkanen becomes eligible to sign a lengthy and lucrative extension with Utah on Wednesday. Utah has every incentive to lavish Markkanen with a long-term offer this week, or the Jazz would risk permitting the 27-year-old to play out his final year of his current deal and test the open market next summer as a free agent. Here is where things get very, very interesting, and you start to kind of see how the CBA, not necessarily the new CBA, this is always been the case, but just how these dates can be incredibly important. If Markkanen waits to sign his new deal until Wednesday or later, Markkanen won't be eligible to be traded during this upcoming 24-25 season. He wouldn't be eligible to be traded for the next 6 months after signing his new agreement in accordance with the collective bargaining. Again, that was not new to this collective bargaining. That's always been the case. Which would fall one day after the February 6th trade deadline. It was similarly crucial for the Cavs to re-sign Jared Allen through his extension before August 2nd, leaving him available to be traded for 4 days prior to the deadline. So essentially, the day that you sign your contract extension, you have a 6-month block in which you cannot be moved from your new deal. If Lauri Markkanen signs that deal after tomorrow, that 6 months puts him after the trade deadline, thus making it impossible, no matter what, it will be impossible for anybody to trade for Lauri Markkanen if he signs his deal after Tuesday. Brenden, hearing that, do you think that A, that's a good move for Utah, And B, do you think that's what Lauri wants? And I only ask if it's a good move for Utah because we don't really know which direction Utah wants to go. Do they want to lean into a rebuild, or do they actually want to build this thing around Lauri?
I mean, I think from Utah's perspective, with the seemingly packages that are on the table for the Kings, Matt George said on a pod recently that he heard at least 4 first-round picks unprotected, and that's not including swaps from Sacramento's side. Golden State obviously offering what feels like every draft pick they have, and potentially Podziemski or Kuminga is kind of what the conversation's around, even if it's Moses Moody. I don't see how you don't do that from Utah's side. I get Danny Ainge just going to hold out, try to get a bit more, but I think the complication here is exactly obviously what you laid out, is that Markkanen probably, it seems like from reporting, wants to stay in Utah, and they're sending people out to Finland to do workouts with him throughout this process. So clearly there is some level of investment that's still going on there, but if he doesn't want to leave, then you wait until after that point, right? I think it's Wednesday, as you mentioned, that he could sign the extension still, but would no longer be eligible to be traded that year. From Utah's standpoint, maybe they don't want to do that. So I think there's a world where on Tuesday, they try to get him to sign a deal, and he's like, no, I'm going to wait till Wednesday. And then the conversation becomes, well, we don't really want to do it if it's on Wednesday because we want the door to be open to trade you this offseason. And then the next complication is anybody that would trade for him, he is then going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of that year. Or even, at what point through the season you even trade for him, you could be getting 40 games of Lauri Markkanen, and then he could leave for nothing, which also changes what teams may be willing to offer in certain scenarios. So definitely a lot of complications, and I clearly a lot more will be apparent to us by the end of Tuesday or Wednesday. But if I'm Lauri Markkanen and I know that I can get this max extension Tuesday, I can't get it Wednesday, and obviously it affects the trades, it's a sense of betting on yourself, I guess, if you want to wait out, but it's really hard to not take that money.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Bradley Beal do it, for example. I think Donovan Mitchell might have just done it out in Cleveland as well. You see these guys just take the max money that they can get because other teams might not be able to offer it to them, and then they say later, okay, now trade me. Now that I'm on the deal, now that I'm secure, now we can work out where I want to play long-term. But first and foremost, get the bag, make sure that you're underneath a contract that you're comfortable with, and then you can always find out where you want to play with this player empowerment era. It definitely becomes a bit of a sticky situation. And Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports said that all indications are that Markkanen intends to delay his signature for the exact purpose of not being traded. So it seems like Lauri Markkanen is one who wants to stay in Utah. And like you kind of laid out there, it might be a situation where Lauri does want to stay and Utah says, well, we kind of already mentally made the decision that we want to move on from you and have already kind of started to count our assets in that fashion. So it'll be really interesting if things are going to heat up on the trade front. You're going to hear it heating up in pretty much the next 24 hours before Markkanen officially signs that deal. Like you said earlier, Mark Stein did report yesterday that the Jazz recently sent multiple coaching staff representatives to Finland to assist Markkanen in workouts with rising Jazz guard Keontae George. The question then becomes, or the statement, I guess, or the natural place where your mind would say, well, why would they send out all of those coaches and their best young star if they have any intention of letting him walk? So definitely seems like that is the direction in which these Lauri Markkanen rumors are going to go. And Brenden, just real quick, I mean, if I had to ask you where you think Golden State, who you mentioned being most involved in the Lauri Markkanen talks, where do you think they pivot to if Lauri Markkanen is off the block?
Oof. Yeah. I mean, it gets tough at that point. I think that he's obviously a great fit potentially for them. And if the deal's not signed Wednesday, it's pretty hard to see, throughout the course of the year, they obviously could still make a move for him. But if it were to get to next offseason, say he were to sign the extension on Wednesday, uneligible to be traded until next offseason, my understanding is, without having all the details in front of me, is that financially the Warriors could hardly pull it off at that point. So definitely would need to pivot. And it's difficult. Like, maybe we are talking Zach LaVine. Like we're at where they need to get a little bit desperate.
Yeah. I think that's the key, is that Golden State clearly starts to act out of desperation at that point. I don't think there's any way they can go into next season with their current roster and realistically expect to compete at any serious level in the Western Conference. Maybe they can slip into a 10 seed, maybe injuries go their way and they can, slide into one of those play-in spots. But I just don't see any real level of success from Golden State as currently constructed if they don't make a move for a big player. Speaking of big players, we have some movement. I guess I really shouldn't phrase it like that. We have some more talk on the Brandon Ayuk front. You have audio from Adam Schefter, and you have some people that you just, when they say things in the Niners circle, you have to take seriously. And it kind of sounds like a lot of those Niner reporters that you know and trust kind of starting to shake a little bit on if they think Brandon Ayuk's going to stay around or not. We get into those details and talk about that next, right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Subscribe to Sacktown Sports on YouTube and watch the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and the Drive Guys, live Monday through Friday from 6 to 6. Plus, view archive shows and exclusive content.
Subscribe at youtube.com/Sacktown Sports.
When an overwhelmed injury victim calls Ashton or Price, we immediately remove their legal burden and introduce them to the very best medical care in the region. They focus on their health and we handle all the rest. When they reach the end of their medical journey and are reunited with happiness and hope, we unleash our decades of legal experience to obtain maximum compensation. We are real, local, experienced litigators and snappy dressers too. Consultation's free and there's never a fee until we win.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
Jason Mraz and the Super Band. Live. The mystical, magical, rhythmical, radical ride. Friday, August 9th, the venue at Thunder Valley. Jason Mraz and the Super Band with special guest Molly Miller Trio. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. Jason Mraz and the Super Band in concert. Pick up the new album, Mystical, Magical, Rhythmical, Radical Ride.
Whitey here reminding you that not all gas grills are created equal. Bring out all the delicious flavors in your grilled meats with the amazing Napoleon Prestige and Prestige Pro line of outdoor cookers. My Napoleon Stainless Steel Pro Series gas grill has turned me into a grilling pro with features other grills cannot match. They're built different, built better, built to last. Made with premium stainless steel that boasts quality and a lifetime warranty. I may never want to cook indoors again. Napoleon grills and accessories are now available at your nearby Amy's, Ace Hardware in Sacramento, and now El Dorado.
Sacramento, Dirks Bentley's coming to town. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Farmerly, Tyler Rich, Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com. Brought to you by The Scoundrel Red Wine, Naturewood Home Furnishings, and Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
There was always a crowd gathered around our dining table when I was growing up. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. Everyone was welcome at my mother's table, so holidays, birthdays, and celebrations always included family and friends. I used to think I was the most popular kid in the neighborhood until I realized that my friends were really there for my mother's incredible cooking. Years later, when I bought my own dining table from Naturewood, I made sure it was large enough to make friends feel welcome. And right now, during Naturewood Home Furnishings Dine in Style sale, you have an opportunity to find the perfect dining room furniture to help you create your own treasured memories. Choose from casual to formal or anything in between. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings during the Dine in Style sale off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
Maida Chevy saves you $12,000 off MSRP on every new half-ton Silverado LT Turbo Max. In stock after rebates. Always 5 to choose from.
Labor Day savings on now at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
See dealer for details. Ends 9/3/24.
Your new home for 49ers football in the 916 Sacktown Sports.
Stiles and Watkins. Again, Alan Stiles, you can hear every morning this week from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. glad he's doing it because that is not Chris hours. Let me tell you, those can be. I have a newborn child, and I'm used to getting up at those hours for that guy. For this one,
you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it.
I could do a day. I could maybe do 2. The third day and every day after that, you're risking me oversleep.
Oh no!
Because the thing is, like, it's not the 6 a.m. I could probably get in for. It's the 4 a.m. wake up or the 4:30 wake up to start the rundown to come in with enough time to make sure everything's good. That's definitely where you start to lose me. I have infinite amount of respect for Jason Ross, not necessarily the other guy who normally sits in this chair, but at least Jay Ross. Like, I don't think people understand. This man will do the morning show. Yeah. He then goes home, maybe gets a rest. I honestly don't even know if he naps. Then he'll go to the Kings game, get there around 4:30. Sometimes he'll do King. Well, I believe most of the time he does Kings pregame. On occasion, he'll have to do game night, which is typically hosted by our very own Scott Marsh, of course. And then he has to stay for the post game, which usually, I do my post game. Brenden will be downstairs getting audio from Mike Brown. Usually Jason's leaving around the same time we're leaving, around 10:45 maybe at the earliest. And then he gets up at 4. Yeah, the arena is cleared. It's only people who are picking up trash, and they're honestly probably about wrapped up at that point. So,
and I don't know about you, but when I leave games, I still have like a wind down.
Yes.
It's almost like a little bit of a high of sorts. There's just great energy in that building and everything. Obviously, still kind of turning off work mode that exists a good bit after the final buzzer rings, obviously going on. And so it takes me a while to fall asleep after games. And
totally.
I'm up at 4 and had a radio show that maybe I'd pass out a little bit sooner after these games, but definitely credit to him because those
it's so ridiculous. Stimulating to be in the building. And there's definitely, I'm so curious to know Jason Ross's like decompression to be able to turn around and be able to get up and still, obviously produce a wonderful show the next day for the good people of Sacramento.
Incredible. I get why he lets Dave do what he does, because he's like, brother, I only have so much energy, and I get it. These are 2 direct quotes. We'll get more into the weeds of what more they had to say, but Matt Mayoko yesterday said, quote, "The ball is in Brenden Ayuk's court." Today, Adam Schefter, and some audio we're going to play here in a second, says, quote, "The ball is in Brenden Ayuk's court." Sounds like I'm just speculating here, but perhaps 49ers front office is trying to let it be known, look, we've done what we have done. We have offered what we will offer. We are not budging. If Brenden Ayuk wants to be a 49er, he knows what our offer is. If he doesn't want to be a 49er, he can. We already tasked him with finding 5 teams. He found 5 teams. We can make that work. But Brenden Ayuk, at the end of the day, has to make a decision for him. And if you try and follow all the crumbs of evidence, they'll lead you a ton of different ways. I have not been able to grasp on whether Brenden Ayuk is just trying to gain leverage, if he legitimately wants to be out of San Francisco, if he wants to make money, if he wants the ball. It's been really tough to try and find what Brenden Ayuk's real prerogative is. Here's what Adam Schefter had to say this morning on the Pat McAfee show about where things currently stand with Brenden Ayuk and the 49ers.
I think every team out there just is wondering, like, the longer this goes on, do we jump in and make a call on Brenden Ayuk? Would they listen to our offer? New England certainly, I'm sure, would love to have a guy like Brenden Ayuk. But again, it takes 2 sides to tango. You got to satisfy the 49ers if you're ever going to make a deal, and the player has to be willing to take the contract from your organization. And even though he doesn't have a no-trade clause in his contract, he has an unofficial no-trade clause, Brenden Ayuk does right now, because if he doesn't want to go to a team, he could say, I'm not taking that contract, and then why is that team going to give up the amount of compensation it would take to go get him if they know that they can't get him under a long-term deal?
I thought you were going to say the unofficial trade clause was the fact that the Niners say we can have it for 3 more years if we want. We got 1 more year in the contract and we got 2 franchise tags. Yeah. I thought that was the unofficial no trade clause that is being held by one particular party in there.
And Judah,
Brenden Ayuk has got an unofficial no trade tag or an unofficial no trade clause because he has the ability to say to these teams, I'm not taking a deal. if I don't want to go there. And if he's not taking the deal, then why would the team give up assets, draft capital, to go get a guy like that if he is showing or telling them
has that happened?
He's not willing to commit there long term?
Well, there you go. And this is not spoilers necessary, but Noah Lyles did just finish his race for the qualifying, and he has qualified for the final. So we will not give any more spoilers or anything like that on what he places or what he medals, but he did just run about a 20-second 200, and he has qualified for the medal race. There you go. You had those statements from one Adam Schefter. Definitely anytime he speaks on anything football related, those shall listen. But like I said in the tease, when Matt Mayoko says something about the San Francisco 49ers, my ears start to perk up. And he had this to say in his most recent article. He wrote this yesterday on NBC Sports Bay Area. He said, what if they could acquire, they being the Niners, could acquire a proven receiver in addition to future draft picks? Now that starts to make sense for the 49ers and Ayuk. The Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots are the most likely trade partners, according to Cam Marino of NFL Draft Buzz. And the reason why we have not discussed this, because this rumor was out on Friday, is because, frankly, I didn't think Cam Marino was a valid enough source to go off of. So when Matt Mayoko is out here writing articles and citing this as a reliable source, that tells me that Matt Mayoko is not running with this. Matt Mayoko has probably heard similar things and is willing to give credit to that being the first report out there. So apparently the Cleveland Browns and New England Patriots are the most likely trade partners. What's changed for Ayuk in San Francisco is that it has taken longer than expected to finalize the deal, as Adam Schefter just kind of went through. After the sides nearly had an agreement months ago, when the receiver market blew up, so did the contract talks. That is a direct quote from Matt Mayoko. So it seems as if a lot of the contract talks have been shelved. The Browns could offer, this is again from Matt Mayoko's article, the Browns could offer to pay Ayuk if the wide receiver Amari Cooper were dealt to the San Francisco 49ers in a trade. That is from longtime beat reporter for Cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot. Because Cooper is in the final year of his contract, the Browns would also likely send multiple draft picks to the Niners, including the possibility of a second-round 2025 pick in the NFL draft. The Patriots could offer the 49ers receiver Kendrick Bourne as a part of a trade package that includes an enticing package of 25 draft picks. Cooper is 30, coming off a season in which he caught 72 passes, 1,250 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns with the Browns. He has 7,000-yard receiving seasons in his 9-year career. Brenden, my question to you, just in general, because I actually don't think we talked about it much on Friday, from your perspective, and I know you are definitely a Niners fan, but you wouldn't consider yourself an NFL or 49ers insider. What has been your read on the Brandon Ayuk situation? I kind of detailed up top, like he's been a little bit back and forth with what his actual intention is. What has been your read from it as a fan?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And I just want to start with kind of validating what you were saying of if there's a report that you're a little unsure of the validity from a reporter standpoint, you're only going to include that in your article if you've done similar research. Maybe It's not something that you've done enough that you feel comfortable reporting yourself, but for him to include that in there definitely adds some weight to it. Like when Sasha Vezenkov about 2 months or 2 weeks or so before he did end up going back to Europe. There was reporting, I believe, from Christos, who kind of know a little bit, talking about that. And you know, I dug in a little bit before I decided to push that on my end as well, even if I don't have enough to necessarily run with it myself. There is obviously a bunch of research that goes into the behind the scenes of all of this job as well. But I think from Ayuk's standpoint, just on the surface, I honestly get why he might want to go be somewhere else and be a number one and get more touches. Like, yes, this is a championship caliber team, obviously, when we're talking about the Niners, but you know, everybody's priorities are in different places. And Ayuk is early in his career. I get wanting more touches. He's a really, really good wide receiver, obviously. And the Niners have to spread the wealth out. And if he were to walk, you know, getting somebody like Amari Cooper, obviously, would be a great get. Even the 1-year deal, which, you know, could keep him along after that. But if that were not to be the case, it's a good stopgap in a way while you just drafted Ricky Pearsall. and you can give him a little bit more time to adjust. Obviously, Jawan Jennings being a free agent after this year adds a little bit of complication, but George Kittle really didn't get that much thrown to him last year. You could up that. You can lean a little bit more on Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, a lot of different options. So I think that from the Niners perspective, you could find ways to fill that hole. And obviously Amari Cooper would be a big one, but I don't really blame Brandon Ayuk for seeing what Amon-Ra gets paid and being like, I'm a similar caliber guy. And there is an aspect of, interesting negotiations here of maybe if you would have just pushed a little bit harder earlier before some of these other guys got signed, that it would have been an easier discussion from or from San Francisco's standpoint. But for the most part, I kind of understand where Ayuk could be coming from, and also get why people would be a little bit annoyed that maybe he's prioritizing touches over winning football, but it's to each his own when it really comes down to it. So hearing that the ball is in his court essentially, and like you said, the tone of a lot of different big time Niners reporters seeming having changed. If the ball's in his court, this guy's already publicly requested a trade request. So, seems like that's where we're headed.
Yeah, no, very, very, very well said, Brenden. I think it's really interesting just how everything has gone down. And, it like you said, I can't really blame him if he wants to be the number one receiver, but it's just so interesting to me how this parallels from basketball, where it feels like, if any basketball player were to be having this conversation where, I just don't feel like I get enough touches on my current team and I think I'm a different caliber player, feels like you're labeled in a certain way if that were to be the case, where in football it is, not that he should be getting that kind of flack, but it is a little bit more understandable to not want to be on the best team in the league, only because you want to make sure that you're properly valued and you don't see you potentially reaching your full potential on that team. So I definitely think it's a really unique case. And, I know you mentioned Amon-Ra getting money, but he's not the only one, as Tyreek Hill did restructure his contract over the weekend. The contract restructuring is worth $90 million over the next 3 years, with 65 of it guaranteed. There's no new years that were added to the 4-year, $120 million extension that he signed in 2022. But the $106.5 million in updated fully guaranteed money is the most ever for a wide receiver. So when Matt Mayoko says when the wide receiver market blew up, that's when all the negotiations as well blew up. That's kind of what he's talking about. Is just, it seems to me like the Niners have a price in which they are willing to pay all of their talent. And it sounds to me like Brandon Ayuk wants to kind of be on his own pay scale in terms of he wants to get properly valued, where the Niners are saying, look, man, part of this agreement in a way is that not everyone's going to get tippy top dollar. We can give a couple guys tippy top dollars, but if you want to be a part of this entire team and what makes us so great by having the collection of talent, everyone's going to make some sacrifices. So it is a really, really interesting case study in kind of team philosophy versus, a guy looking out for his individual self and having to think about his individual future. So we will see how the Brandon Ayuk saga continues, but it seems as if made a little bit of a turn there, and you can maybe say it's a little bit unexpected as well. But as we get closer and closer to the actual start of football, it does seem like the odds go lower and lower for Ayuk to actually be moved. The Niners do play their first preseason game this week against the Tennessee Titans, so we will see if Ayuk is still wearing a Niner uniform by then.
I believe they also still got some joint practices coming up here with the Saints down in LA. And, to draw a basketball parallel, it makes me think of like Jeremy Grant a little bit.
Yeah.
He was on a great team with the Nuggets competing, and then decides, no, I want to spread my wings a little bit. Ends up going to Detroit, which there were also some off-court reasons there as well. Good relationship with general manager and things like that. And then now ends up going back to Portland. If you're on a worse team, you're still subject to them deciding that they want to move you. And now is Jeremy Grant in a spot where, okay, maybe now I do want to go back to a winning team. It feels like a lot of these guys, it almost ends up being a full circle thing where, I want to go spread my wings. And then a couple years later, now I want to be competing again, but it's almost like a natural circle for some of these guys. And I think Jeremy Grant, Kyle Kuzma kind of fit into that.
Yeah, and I think Alan told me this morning on his way out that he read the Jake Fisher dropped a piece this morning in which he reported that I believe Jeremy Grant said he's okay with spending some more time in Portland. That's obviously where Jeremy Grant is from, but it sounds to me like you do kind of have to make your bed and lie in it if you are going to chase that bag and chase the touches over being on a good team. It does seem like you have to be willing to live with the consequences of it. And hopefully Brenden Ayuk is understanding that, hey, yeah, you can go ahead and play with your buddy Jaden Daniels in Washington, but you might not win football games over there. Next up, we are going to talk some baseball. Again, baseball, Brenden, is my new favorite revelation. We're going to talk about some history being made on the good side and also on the really, really, really bad side. We'll talk about that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow, provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS.
I would end the day with sore feet, sore legs. The drugstore inserts that I was purchasing were really not very useful at all. I walked into the Good Feet store and the guy kind of grinned at me and said, I hear that a lot. I was living with chronic pain before going to the Good Feet store. Now I don't really have that problem. I'm able to do the things that I expect to be able to do, even at my advanced age. I feel pretty good about what's going on.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Xfinity Mobile. Connect to the most reliable 5G network nationwide. Well, July was very good to the A's as they put together their best month since they were 17-9 back in June of 21. And they took advantage of a real quirk in the schedule, playing the Angels 10 times in July, and they went 8-2. And also good series against the Astros and the Phillies, going 2-1 against those two ball clubs as well.
Want to save on some of the biggest names in streaming on the network made for streaming? Now through September 21st, get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And for just $15 a month, add the new Stream Saver. That includes Peacock, Apple TV Plus, and Netflix for just $35 a month. Switch at Xfinity.com today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay to stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Currently $54 a month. Actual speeds vary. Stream Saver requires Xfinity internet or TV and price subject to change.
Hey, what's up, Sacramento? It's Kyle Draper. Turn up the cleanliness at your restaurant, healthcare, or industrial business with Alsco Uniforms, the official sponsor of the Sacramento Kings Mop Crew. We've got you covered with crisp uniforms, hygienically clean linens, floor mats, and of course, mops delivered weekly. But that's not all. Alsco Uniforms also offers weekly services for first aid and restroom supplies. Discover why it pays to keep clean with Alsco Uniforms. Just go to alsco.com to learn more. Again, that's ALSCO.com.
Lead generation is one of the most important aspects of any marketing campaign. Let us help you identify your target audience and market your products or services to them. Go to aimyourdigital.com today. aimyourdigital.com.
First pitch to De La Cruz. He hits a fly ball, right center. Yastrzemski has it! And Blake Snell has pitched the first no-hitter of his brilliant career here in Cincinnati.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube.
Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
That is right. The first no-hitter for Blake Snell in his illustrious career, Cy Young winning career, 18th no-hitter in Giants history, first complete game of his career, first time ever pitching in the 9th inning. My goodness, what a performance third no-hitter in the MLB this season. And this is coming off the heels, if I'm not mistaken, of his 15 strikeout performance as well. I mean, we saw him in Sacramento, Brenden, just absolutely cook. Like now that you have the 15 strikeout performance and you have a no-hitter this season, I kind of think that Blake Snell might have reached, I'm going to tell my kids that I saw him this season territory. Is that okay? Is that cool with you?
That might be where we're getting towards. I will say, baseball has been my new thing this year, I guess, and jumped into it very quickly with both feet. But it's very weird to me how different it can be on a game-to-game basis or month-to-month basis for a lot of these different guys. But you look at the last 5 starts for Blake Snell, 33 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 hits allowed, and 41 strikeouts. Hitters are 8 of 103 in his last 5 starts. Ridiculous numbers, but it's wild to me that kind of heard him talking about it a little bit of the difference, and he's trying to get ahead in the count earlier to keep his pitch count down, because before that game, he had just 5 outs in the 7th inning or later in his entire career.
That's crazy.
He had never thrown a pitch in the 9th. And he said typically, his pitch count just got a little high. He's getting in 2-2 counts, 3-2 counts a lot. And I think making sure that some of those off speeds or strikes a little bit earlier have made a big difference compared to how he started the year and how he's bounced back. But it's been a ridiculous performance from him for sure every time he goes out there. And, it's worth noting that it was the Reds and then the Rockies in those 2 matchups, but can't take anything away from him. You play who's in front of you. And there were certainly times earlier in the year where I wouldn't even feel great about him going out in those matchups. So certainly turned it around, and it's the 3rd no-hitter in the MLB this season with Ronel Blanco and Dylan Cease also doing that. So definitely a good accomplishment. And I love that when they do the ice bath after the game, I don't know if you saw this, they accidentally hit him on the head and he's talking crap in the middle of the interview. That's exactly how not to do it. He said, I got my glove wet. I was trying to keep this thing. He goes and hands it off to a teammate. Try to dry that off. Good luck. So he seems like a fun character for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw too, but he's wearing I guess he's super well known for his cleat selection. He was wearing some off-whites yesterday. I couldn't tell if they were any specific off-white or if it was just kind of like an off-white style cleat, but was wearing the Virgil Abloh off-whites cleats. And I believe those are going to the Hall of Fame. So that'll be a nice little cool memento for him. And this quote that you put in here from Blake Snell does remind me a little bit of Kevin Herter when he talked about being allergic to 30 when he was out in Atlanta. This is from Blake Snell, what he had to say after his no-hitter. He said, "They can't say it anymore. Complete game, shutout, no-hitter. Leave me alone. It doesn't go to the 9th, or he doesn't go into the 9th. He doesn't go into the 8th. Do you know how good that feels? Just did it. Leave me alone." So you can hear just by the words he's choosing there, the amount of relief that he feels. Anytime you're a great pitcher, I mean, I'm sure Clayton Kershaw will tell you about this. Anytime you're a great player in general, they're always going to look for the but the ifs and the all those kind of things. And Kershaw's is definitely his postseason lack of success, but sounds like it's been a thing for Blake Snell to never be able to, like you said, go into the 7th, never going into the 8th, and never even pitching a single pitch in the 9th inning is absolutely insane. So shout out Blake Snell, who also, much like we talked about with Noah Lyles, seems to be like an all-time personality. So definitely rooting for Blake Snell, and glad that he's going to at least finish the season on the Giants. We'll see if he can, if he wants to be a Giant moving forward, of course, with his interesting contract. I believe it's a player option. Moving on to the White Sox, who are making history for all of the wrong reasons. I'm sure you've heard about this by now, but with their loss yesterday, the White Sox became only the 7th team in modern baseball history, which goes all the way back to 1901, to ever own a 20-game losing streak. It's the longest losing streak in the MLB since the Baltimore Orioles lost 21 in a row to begin the 88 season. The White Sox, who are currently sitting at 27-87, are one more bad series away from equaling the record of 23 straight losses by the 61 Phillies. After getting swept by the Twins, the White Sox continue their trip for a 3-game series against another faltering team. Ladies and gentlemen, your Oakland, Las Vegas, Sacramento Athletics will take on the White Sox and try and do you try and curb history? If you're the A's, you definitely don't want to be the team that ends the White Sox losing streak, but the A's will have their hand in trying to, I guess, help history and make sure that the White Sox lose 24 consecutive. If the White Sox leave Oakland without a win, they'd be in position to knock out a record-setting 24th straight loss in a series opener against their crosstown rival Chicago Cubs. The A's, for prop talkers, are a -185 today, which is their biggest favorite line in over 2 years. Absolutely insane. When you're favored that heavily and you're the A's, you must be playing an extra set of garbage. The White Sox fell to 60 games under 500, extending that franchise record. It does not get worse than that, Brenden Nunes.
It really doesn't. I kind of appreciate it. You know, we're playing the show a little bit, a baseball game, and every once in a while you need certain stats that you got to meet. And
what do we know the White Sox for, Brenden? What do we know the White Sox for in our MLB The Show?
For being the worst team that when you just want to run it up and you got to get some numbers, like let me go play them and, beat them 30-0 on a low difficulty for what it's worth. And Luis Robert is always the only guy that stops me from getting a perfect game, but no big deal. I mean, this is just historically bad. It's embarrassing. I feel even worse than when it was like the Pistons, who obviously threw it last year as well.
Right.
And you never want to be the team that loses to them and breaks the streak. And it would be the most A's thing ever to do so. When it gets to a point like this, though, I'm rooting to see it. Screw it. Like, if you're going to be bad, be historically bad. Why not?
Yep, might as well. It's the lesson we learned from the process. And yeah, the A's are playing the best baseball that they've played in a while here over the past month plus. So they'll definitely look to play their part in history, and hopefully they can take out the lowly White Sox. Coming up next, we talk a little bit more video games, I guess. Me and Alan have been going through all of the Madden rankings and going through them one by one. Let's take a look at everybody's least favorite basketball game, NBA 2K, and talk about where they have the Kings rated and if there's any surprises that we see amongst that. You're listening to Stiles and Watkins right here, Sacktown Sports.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
Get in on the action at Sky River Casino. With over 80 table games, more than 2,100 slot machines, and a thrilling high-limit room, you'll enjoy a casino experience on a whole new level. Just minutes from Sacramento, right off Highway 99 in Elk Grove. Join in the fun. Sky's the limit at Sky River Casino. Visit skyriver.com today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hi, this is Greg Papa. Disasters hit every day. If your home, business, or building has suffered from any disaster, SunPoint Public Adjusters can help. SunPoint prepares, presents, and negotiates your claim with the insurance company, working only for you, making sure you get everything you're entitled to and letting their focus be on what's most important, your family, or your business. Call SunPoint today at 888-247-7865 or contact us at sunpoint.us. SunPoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard in public adjusting.
License number 2N14884.
What sets Ashton & Price apart from other injury law firms? I'll tell you. From beginning to end, all important legal decisions are made directly between our clients and their experienced local attorney. A gate agent flying the plane, the receptionist performing surgery, not a chance. There's simply no substitute for the unique power of the direct attorney-client relationship offered by Ashton & Price. And there's never a fee until we win, and between you and me, we win a lot.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton & Price.
Are you tired of your tee shots ending up in the adjoining fairway while the rest of your foursome is hitting it down the middle? Well, experts will tell you that being properly fitted for golf clubs will help you strike your drive center cut. The Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio and its team of trained PGA professionals are ready to help you get rid of your banana balls and duck hooks. Hagen Oaks Indoor-Outdoor Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531. There was always a crowd gathered around our dining table when I was growing up. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. Everyone was welcome at my mother's table, so holidays, birthdays, and celebrations always included family and friends. I used to think I was the most popular kid in the neighborhood until I realized that my friends were really there for my mother's incredible cooking. Years later, when I bought my own dining table from Naturewood, I made sure it was large enough to make friends feel welcome. And right now, during Naturewood Home Furnishings' Dine in Style sale, you have an opportunity to find the perfect dining room furniture to help you create your own treasured memories. Choose from casual to formal or anything in between. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings during the Dine in Style sale off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
KHTKAM HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sacktown Sports. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
Stiles and Watkins. For those just joining us now, welcome. I assume it's your lunch break. Hope you have a nice lunch. You know, I don't know how many people actually eat lunch at noon these days. Like when I was in the office here, back in my administrative days, I would usually take my lunch at like 2, 2:30, 3 maybe. I feel like the closer you get to like taking lunch towards the end of your shift, you know, you can just kind of finish all your work, then go to lunch, take an extended lunch because it's at the hour where.
Hey, I mean, let's not give away all the free game here.
Sorry, my bad. Yes, sometimes peel back the curtain a little too far. But point is, you want to get your work done, and then when you come back from lunch, you don't want to actually have a ton of responsibility.
Right. Let's see what the let's see what the workload is after the lunch hour.
Exactly.
It usually tends to calm down.
Usually does. Because usually people in our tax bracket are, you know, working. And then if you're up there, you know, a lot of the times those people tend to dip out at around 2:30, 3 o'clock.
I think that first hour after lunch can be a little tough. You know, food's still settling, might be in like a slight food coma going on, depending on what you ate. You know, you got to be a little careful depending on how much work you got left.
Hey, man, especially I know your desk is right next to a Meals. If you're eating like a Meals eating, that man has DoorDash every single day. And every day I'm like, that looks incredible, but it's probably going to.
He's got a schedule.
He definitely does. He's got the Taco Tuesday lockdown. I think on Wednesday he does, you know, chicken or something like that. Yeah, poke. That's right. Poke on Wednesdays.
He put me onto that Taco Tuesday, though. That is the move.
It's a really good taco. Now, I'm not hating on a Meals game at all. I'm just more saying he's got it figured out. But he's definitely one of those who, like you say, you eat a lunch like that, you might be out of commission for an hour at least, if not.
Bren, really quick, what time do you eat lunch? If we're doing, like, I tend to help out a lot with the midday show, so we're kind of eating in between anywhere that fits in. When do you eat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very consistent with when I eat my food, to be honest. Typically, my workday starting at 10, so I'm probably breakfast around 8:39 maybe, and lunch is liable to get skipped sometimes on my end, but typically probably around 2, 3, somewhere in there.
See, I'm terrible. I'm usually skipping breakfast and doing a lunch. Like I break my fast with a lunch.
I'm the exact same way as Simone. I usually, more times than not, if anything's getting skipped, it's breakfast. I know they say it's the most important meal of the day, but it's also the toughest because I'm not trying to get up and then immediately make scrambled eggs and an omelet and 5 other things. So if it's not grab and go, I really struggle with breakfast. If anyone has any great, I've tried overnight oats. That definitely is a good step in the right direction, but I could use some help on some breakfast meal prepping out there.
I can help you out a little bit with breakfast if you're an egg guy. I got Gordon Ramsay went on Hot Ones a while ago.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, with the eggs.
Walked him through how to make his version of what scrambled eggs is. You just got to take it off the heat every once in a while. A little bit of milk, which sounded very weird to me at first, but I promise it's good. I'll try to put you on.
Yeah, I think I saw that episode. It gets runny and it does look like some hotel eggs, if you will, but obviously a little bit more appetizing. Looking at the text line as it just popped up on my computer. This is from earlier in the show. The 279 says, did you guys see what Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco offered the track and field athletes if they win gold? $25K cash if someone wins gold, $50K cash if someone breaks a world record, because I guess you can only get $37,000 for a gold medal in the US. Shout out to Shannon and Ocho for being real ones. Lyles with $50K cash coming soon. Hopefully, like I said, we will not reveal when the actual race happens, but Noah Lyles did at least qualify for the final heat of the men's 200, the heat in which he says is the easier leg of the two for him. And you did kind of see it in the 100. If you watched, you did see Noah Lyles for, 85% of that race be in about 4th or 5th place before eventually, kind of as he gets more towards the 90, 100 meter mark, he starts to pick it up, and that's really where he made up all the slack and won the race. And at least in the qualifier, looked like he won with ease. He definitely pulled off the gas at the last minute there. So definitely hoping Noah Lyles can do what no American since Carl Lewis has done, and that is bring home gold in both the 100 meter and 200 meter finals. As we get into some Sacramento Kings talk, let's talk virtual sports as NBA 2K. Now, these are unofficial. These are definitely unofficial. 2K is still in the rollout process of their game, but they do have some, I guess, predictions as to where they see the players being ranked with there's like 4 Ds up top, and I got them all mixed up at the same time. Domantas Sabonis gets rated a 90. That's a +3 improvement. De'Aaron Fox an 89. DeMar DeRozan an 88. Keegan Murray an 81. Malik Monk an 81 as well. That's down 1. Kevin Huerter is down to a 76 from an 80 the season previous. Keon Ellis, the biggest riser for the Kings, at a 76, matching Kevin Huerter, as well as Trey Lyles, who's a 76. You have Jordan McLaughlin at a 75, Orlando at a 73, Colby Jones 72, Jalen McDaniels at 72, which is down 4 from his previous season rating. Alex Len down at a 70 is just straight up disrespectful. He is with Mason Jones as well. Brendan, do any of those numbers stick out to you for any particular reason?
Yeah, I'll start with, like you said, these are kind of unofficial, but even if these are end of season ratings for 2K24, I think they're definitely something to go off of, because you can't tell me that Keon Ellis got improved by 8 at the start of last season. So there's no way these are the start of last season's ratings in any sort of way. I mean, right away, Malik Monk going down. Like, what are we talking about? Why? And being an 81 in the first place, I probably should have that guy a little bit higher. Back-to-back runner-up for 6th man of the year. has very big games for this team for sure. And I'll also say I love my video games, Chris. We play a lot of games together,
especially sports games.
And yes, specifically sports games, and basketball, clearly my favorite sport.
Yep.
I can't with 2K. I just can't do it. I do not like this game. That's
Why
a
is that?
Separate rant. They got a monopoly on it, and someone else needs to compete. I guess NBA Live's out there. I need to see a little bit more before I'm trying that one out either. And like Luka Doncic, I think has the second highest hustle rating in 2K at a 98. And I'm like, what are we talking about? So take these with a grain of salt for what it's worth. But I think Keon Ellis getting some recognition, being at the same rating, 76 now as Kevin Huerter. Again, Keon went up 8 to get to that point. Kevin Huerter went down 4 to get to that point. Those both do make sense to me. Obviously, the toughest year of Kevin's career, while on the other end, Ellis had a really breakout, sort of coming into his own sort of season. But I still am kind of the thought that De'Aaron Fox should be a 90. I think he's the best player on the team. I understand it being neck and neck with Domas, but I think he should be right there. He was the 13th ranked backcourt player with Ja Morant is a 93, and that's up 1. How does he improve? First of all, Halliburton, 91. You're telling me Halliburton's better than any player on the Kings roster?
They lost that trade.
I love Tyrese. I think that's a little kind. And on the lower end, you mentioned Alex Len being a 70. If Orlando Robinson's a 73, Alex Len needs to at least be the same.
At least. I mean, the Alex Len disrespect is crazy. He should be at least a 75 after the season he had last year. I mean, it's whatever. Like you said, 2K is all about the money, and it's not about the actual game experience at all. Brenden, I'm curious, and this kind of, I think, speaks a little bit to who you are as a person, but definitely you as a gamer. Obviously, it's a hot button topic in real life with the real Kings, who starts at the 2. In 2K, do you still lean Keon Ellis starting at the 2 if you're doing a franchise? Or do you say, look, this is a video game. I'm going to put the most video game-like guy and put Malik in there at the starting spot?
Yeah, I might still try to – I'm a sucker for realism, I guess, which is what makes me not like 2K that much. A lot of times I'm like, I'm not playing basketball, like a basketball simulation, instead I'm playing a video game, which can be a little agitating. So I try to keep it a little real, but I don't know how much I like Keon Ellis in the game specifically. I got to get a feel for it when those ratings go up a little bit, but I might still even just slide Kevin Huerter in there. I'm also a sucker for playing big lineups that are really switchable. So there's a world where, on a given night, I may even just go with a bigger lineup and slide Trey into that 4 spot, move some of these other guys, DeMar and Keegan, into 2 and 3.
Brenden, how about you tell people, as you say, you're a different kind of cat when you game as well. What kind of, like, if you're making a my player or a career mode, why don't you explain to the people what kind of savage human you are, and the style of play in which you like to game with?
Yeah, everybody wants to be the guy that's just getting all the shots up, trying to cross people over, make highlights.
Everyone wants to be Cam Thomas.
I want to be the guy that makes it hard for you to do that. I'm trying to make a 7-2 center that just makes you horrified of coming into the paint, and if we're talking Park, everybody else, like I said, wants the ball. So I'm just going to take the perspective of, I'm going to make a guy where I don't need the ball. So if I don't get it, I do not care in the first place. We play FIFA together too. Yeah. And my first reaction was, I'm going to make Virgil van Dijk. I want to make a defender, and just, I like to piss people off, essentially.
You really do. Yeah,
in video games. And that's what I'm going for here. So on my team, I try to get 5 guys that are all at least 6'8", and we can do nothing but switch everything. And then next thing I know, I don't have enough playmaking or shooting or whatever, but I'm a defense guy. I'm trying to do all the dirty work, even in these video games. So
you're just the worst.
Oh yeah, you know, see, this is exactly what I'm
worst
going
type
for,
of
though.
person there is on this planet. It's like when everyone else is zigging, Brenden decides to zag, and as everyone's out here trying to do 150 to 130, Brendan's out here sweating a 60 to 55 game in a
100%.
Video game, that is, and just trying to make sure that everyone who spent a lot of their parents' hard-earned money to get their players up to a 99. Brendan's trying to make sure that you have no fun whatsoever. So if you run into anybody with a B Nunes 916 gamer tag or something like that, and you're like, this guy is sweaty, just know it's.
I will also say I'm never using my real name. You know, like my MLB player, I decided was going to be Mike Trout's distant removed cousin. I'm Coyote Trout up in that game, working my way through the minors. I'm I made up a whole story in my mind and everything. I'm like, there's a brother that he has out there that doesn't even know that he exists. And my whole mission in that game is to get to the majors and make Mike Trout acknowledge me as part of his family. We just make up stuff. We're playing college football. I decided to name my coach Uriah Soul for some reason. It was like Uriah Faber, and then I'm playing these Dark Souls games. I like to come up with different names. You won't catch me with my own name on there, but you'll know if somebody's pissing you off and I'm just playing defense. That might be me.
Gotcha. The only thing that I have that could mildly relate to that is when I was playing the Tiger Woods video game, my career name would always be Lion Forest. You'll get that one on the ride home.
I see.
It's like the complete opposite of Tiger Woods.
Yeah. It's a solid one.
I thought so. I was really proud
it.
of it. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, he did not live up to the Tiger. It was tough. The golf games can be equally as frustrating as golf in real life. Next, we talk about the Western Conference over-unders. There's a lot, the most unpredictable teams. What tier do the Kings fall in? And Utah and Golden State, like we talked about earlier, they are in a little bit of a cold war when it comes to their trade with Lauri Markkanen. We'll see how that affects the over-unders. Looking at that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America N.A.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
Sacramento, Dirks Bentley's coming to town. What was I thinking? I'm getting drunk. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Farmerly, Tyler Rich, Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com. Brought to you by The Scoundrel Red Wine, Naturewood Home Furnishings, and Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
I can't bring myself to do it. I was going to make a pun about, are you going to smack that over, smack that under? But I couldn't do it without breaking a smile. So that's
in my head the whole time, I'm just like, convict music.
They play this a lot at Golden One Center. That's why I made this bet.
Really?
They play it all the time during a Kings game. They really do. Thank you, B.
I've never noticed.
Next thing I know, I got the whole verse in my head while I'm trying to watch the game.
They play this so much. That's definitely why I put it in the system.
It's a good instrumental for sure, but I don't know. The song, it definitely takes me back for sure. Very specific era of music this was, of course. You got Akon, you got the T-Pain was kind of running things at this point. You had some early, well, I guess not early for Lil Wayne, but you had some Lil Wayne. kind of in his peak, as the Carter 3 was coming out. That was kind of when Lil Wayne ruled the world. And Akon definitely had a foothold for sure. And now he's providing electricity to like a huge portion of Africa. I mean, he's doing crazy things.
Incredible work.
With his
like the Luol Deng of music.
Honestly, that is a great way of putting it. As Luol Deng is pretty much fully funding the South Sudanese basketball team. Yeah, definitely. That's actually a great shout. He is the Luol Deng of music.
Did you guys see? I saw T-Pain was on. I've been watching Kevin Hart and Kel's show.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. I don't know if you have,
Really?
if you take it on. You have Peacock,
Yes,
right?
yeah. I had to buy it for the Olympics. I think Brenda did too.
Yeah, take it on, dude. It's a lot of fun.
Really?
It's like they just cover a bunch of, they'll talk to different athletes and people competing, and then just highlight different things that they saw at the Olympics, and it's pretty hilarious.
Dang, yeah. I've been pretty tough on Snoop Dogg on this show, just in terms of him being
he's not there.
I know. I'm just gonna say in general, he's been actually really funny. And I've been pretty hard on him being a little bit too leaning into the bit a bit, but I will say he's being very natural, and not that he isn't always natural, but it just feels a little bit more organic this Olympic run. So I might be changing my tune yet again on Snoop Dogg the comedian. It's just some of it's a little.
You've never heard him from the previous Olympics
I did.
The horse. I forget what's going on here, but it's something horse related where they're kind of walking around. It is.
He's like, oh, that thing's sea walking. Okay.
Yeah, it is so good. And Kevin Hart just cannot stop dying laughing right next to him. It's prime entertainment, and I don't know how you talk bad about him at all.
Also, I did the faux pas. I just said Kel.
I heard, but it's okay.
Yeah,
It's
you
okay.
stared at me, and I felt that in my soul.
I was trying to remember his name too, and when
Keenan
you said
Thompson,
Kel,
very different. Yeah, it's actually because everyone always jokes on the show that then Kevin is Kel. So I'm so sorry, everyone.
That's amazing. Well, I love it. And definitely loving the Olympics. And we have the women's 5,000 meter, which we learned last time the 10,000 meter was 6.2 miles, I think. So that would put this at about quick math 3, somewhere around there. So that's going on right now. You have, what is this? Olympic volleyball quarterfinals for the men going on right now. USA versus Brazil.
By the way, Chris, last Friday, we
Yes.
had a conversation about what NBA players would be good playing volleyball.
Yes.
But after the fact, Chase Budinger is out there playing for the USA team.
Yes, for their beach volleyball team. I think I saw that they were down. I don't know if they lost or not, but yeah, that's the one where even when he was playing, he would talk about. I think he went to U of A, Arizona, and he was a really good volleyball player at U of A. I believe he did both sports, and that fool's got hops. I think that's really the main part of it too. Is just, especially for these NBA guys, it's just, it feels like any of them could play volleyball, because that's really 95% of it. It's just, if you have your head above the net, it's going to be pretty easy to spike it down. So yeah, definitely shout out Chase Budinger, who had a nice little second career, little career renaissance there, going from basketball player. I believe he was, I know he was a part of a slam dunk contest, and now is attempting to be an Olympic medalist in men's beach volleyball. We'll see how that ends up shaking out, and we'll see how the rest of the season ends up shaking out for a lot of these NBA teams and their over-unders. Brenden, you have the Sacramento Kings right now with their win total being projected at 45.5. What is this on? I don't know where this is sourced from, but you have it at 45.5, and that puts them at, what is that? 7th in the Western.
And it's from FanDuel for what it's worth.
Perfect.
I think that it does kind of even separate these Western Conference teams into tiers when you look at over-unders. Now, I will say no Golden State or Utah included in this because things are so up in the air. Obviously, they're kind of watching their own backs there with so much potential variability, both of those having to do with Lauri Markkanen more than anything. But you look at this top tier, where you got OKC at the top, 54.5, pretty high line, but also I think they're the favorites for a reason. You got Denver 52.5, Minnesota 52.5, and then Dallas at 50.5. They kind of being in their own tier of that top 4. And then you get another tier that includes Sacramento, where 5th is Phoenix, 46.5. Memphis has the exact same line. Sacramento 45.5, tied with New Orleans at 45.5, and right behind them, the Lakers at 44.5 before we reach another tier. A little lower in the 41.5 with Houston and the Clippers, and obviously the very, very bottom, San Antonio, Portland, with some low numbers themselves. But it's just, it shows how open the West is, in my mind. But at the same time, you know, I'm a guy that thinks Memphis is a really good regular season team. I think they're going to bounce back in a big way. Not having Steven Adams last year obviously was a big loss. I kind of think Zach Edey can step into that role pretty quickly. I think there's reasons that, from what I've seen, he's favorite for Rookie of the Year. Now, I don't know that I'd go that way, but I understand it. But there's a couple in here where I'm like, I'm not so sure about Dallas winning 50 games. They kind of snuck into the Western Conference Finals last year with a hard-fought postseason. But from Sacramento's standpoint, 45.5, I believe that they were 44.5 going into last year, obviously end up beating that number. I mean, a lot of the concerns I have with DeRozan and the Kings are postseason concerns. And when it comes to their ceiling, whether it be spacing or you know, the who's going to get prioritized in their offense, I think a lot of it comes in the postseason when teams are specifically scheming against you and they get a lot of time to dive into the specifics of how they want to do that. Regular season wise, the Kings are going to be a good team in my mind, and it's hard for me to see how that doesn't happen. They had some bad injury luck last year, which will happen to some extent, I'd imagine. But for me, that feels like a fairly easy over. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. I think that's super easy. I think they're a better team than they were last year. I think there's a lot of easy variables to go their way to say, yeah, they won 46 last year, but this, and that go their way, and they're at 50 or they're at 49. And I think there's no way in my mind that they got worse. And I think a big part of feeling confident about that 45.5 is, you know, a lot of teams, or just about every team, you say, well, how do they not hit that number? And a lot of the time, the easy answer is injuries. I think the Kings actually do have a really good case to say, well, I don't think they have that floor falling out from the bottom of them anymore with DeRozan coming here. It does feel like if De'Aaron gets hurt, well, maybe last year your season's cooked at that point. Now you have DeMar DeRozan who could potentially step up. You have Malik Monk who could potentially step up. You still have Domantas Sabonis. You have Keegan Murray another year older. It feels like they're a little bit more prepared to guarantee themselves into that 45 number. And I just think that there's a lot of scarier bets, frankly. I think Memphis at 46.5. I know you say you think they're a regular season team. That's just a really massive jump for them to make after pretty much sitting out last season. They lose a lot of their key pieces that made them good in the first place. I don't know necessarily if they improved overall from the team that we saw 2 years ago. That was the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. We saw how big of a difference there was from last season to this past season, and the Kings being a 3 to a 9 seed. Who knows if Memphis would have made a similar drop with them not making necessarily any acquisitions that make you feel like, okay, they kept up with the Joneses. To me, it kind of feels like they took a step back last year, and I really don't even know if they've recouped all the losses that they have, that they've lost over the past couple of years. So that'll be definitely intriguing to follow. The over-unders. Again, Kings at 45.5. You have the Lakers at 44.5. And the Golden State Warriors not currently listed, but you would assume that they're probably around the 42 to 43.5 number, sitting between the Lakers and the Rockets. So we will definitely follow that as the season progresses. And like you said, the Kings last season were 44.5. So only one game improvement from the Vegas side of things. Something that Jason Pat mentioned when we talked with him earlier in the show definitely made my ears perk up. And I want to get Brendan's thoughts on DeMar DeRozan versus Brandon Ingram. I think there's a lot there to talk about, and we will discuss that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Did you miss any part of our live local shows? Don't worry, you never have to miss them again. Check out sacktownsports.com and search our podcast page and play our shows when you want. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and The Drive Guys. Plus, other podcasts like Return of the Empire, Return of the Roar, the Stingers Up podcast, and Golf to Go with Frank LaRosa.
They're all available right now on sacktownsports.com.
Timmy, everybody. Great job. Next up for our 5th grade class recital, we have Samantha.
10 times better performance can make a big difference. Castrol Edge Motor Oil gives your engine 10 times better high-stress performance. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. Now through December 28th, Castrol Edge and Edge High Mileage Motor Oil are on rollback at Walmart.
Claim based on sequence dyne test under high-load conditions versus API SP test limits.
If you're looking to move out of your parents' place, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive, which is good because your little brother has gotten really territorial. You're blood related. You'd think it would be fine to share food in the fridge. I mean, who writes their name on every individually wrapped slice of cheese, Tyler? Still, you've got to admire the commitment. So bundle your renter's and car insurance with Progressive and use the savings to help you move out and have all the cheese you want. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
Hey, what's up? Kyle Draper from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. I've had my new Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV for about 6 months now, and it's still the best car driving experience that I've ever had. And I got some news for you. Mercedes-Benz of Stockton doesn't just have cars or SUVs, they also have Sprinter vans, and they have special rates starting at 4.9% APR and an $8,000 discount on over 30 vans in stock. So head on down there right now to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton and check out their new Sprinter vans. Just a short drive right off the 5 in Stockton.
Jerry and Kenny here from Bell Brothers. And if you've even thought of replacing your old, outdated, inefficient windows, now is the time to take action.
Right now at Bell Brothers, when you buy one window, you'll get the second one for 30% off. That's right. Buy one, get the second one 30% off.
That's real savings, up to $6,000. You have to buy at least 4 windows to qualify, and you can't mix windows and doors. But beyond that, every second window is 30% off.
For example, when you buy 10 windows, you will get 5 windows at 30% off. We also have 0% interest financing available for qualified buyers. Call for details.
To take advantage of our buy one, get one 30% off sale, call Bell Brothers now at 916-444-1234 or find us online at thenosurpriseguys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
If you've been on the American River, it's uphill, it's downhill. There's trails everywhere that you can walk, and it just makes you happy. And I couldn't walk, and it was terrible. I was turning into a real crab. I went to the Good Feet store, and I tried on the arch supports. I could not believe that I was not in pain. I can walk, I can run, I can jump, I can do anything. My name's Terry, and that's my Good Feet story.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Increase leads and get more customers. We create tailored digital marketing strategies that deliver results. On your next campaign, aim higher. Go to aimyourdigital.com and get started today. aimyourdigital.com.
If your passion is bass fishing, only one radio show has the action, information, and excitement of your favorite outdoor sport. Ultimate Bass, hosted by Tournament Bass Pro and California Outdoor Hall of Famer Kip Brown, takes you live to where the fish are biting every Saturday morning. Only Ultimate Bass feeds your passion with the latest news, products, tips, and advice from the pros. Ultimate Bass with Kip Brown, Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. on Sacktown Sports 1140, part of SEP's Saturday Morning Outdoors.
Play and win to take your loyalty to new heights at Sky River Casino in Elk Grove. Sign up for Sky River Rewards, and you'll get $15 free play to use on your first visit. Plus, you'll be in the know about upcoming special events and offers. Visit skyriver.com today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
Stiles and Watkins. If you're wondering where Alan Stiles is, he's probably on a golf course near you right now. He wrapped up his work responsibilities early today at 10 a.m. He ran the morning show. For Carmichael Dave and Jason Ross, who are both out on vacation. Alan will be holding down that spot for the remainder of the week, as I will be holding down this spot for the remainder of the week. And I do want to get into something a little bit off topic here, but definitely still relates to Sacramento big time. For those of you who didn't see what happened yesterday, pretty scary sight at Hagen Oaks Golf Course. Just not your typical Sunday at the course, as this is from at the Sacramento Fire Department on Twitter. They put this out yesterday at 2:54 p.m. Plane crash, Hagen Oaks Golf Course. Crews arrived to a plane that emergency landed on the golf course and came to rest up against the pro shop. The pilot had minor injuries, thankfully, and was able to walk away from this incident. No others were injured, thankfully. And I would heavily, heavily recommend all of you either go look at this video put out by the Sacramento Fire Department, or I believe they actually have like the security camera footage of when it actually landed, when it crash landed right onto the putting green. For those who are familiar with Hagen Oaks, it's on the arcade side, I believe, the arcade course on that side of the putting green. And if you look at the video, when they say that the plane rested up to the pro shop, quite literally, this thing is just like the pro shop was actually the backstop. It fully stopped the plane from going through. Thankfully, it doesn't look like there's any damage or any serious damage that is to the pro shop. Definitely some bumps and bruises, as you would naturally assume, but really glad that the pilot is only reported to have minor injuries. And thankfully, I mean, I'm sure you definitely would have seen or heard it coming if you were on the putting green, but thankfully nobody was injured or got in the way of when that thing landed. I can't imagine how scary of a moment that was, not only for the pilot, but for everyone on the ground as well.
So smart too. I bet his perspective was like, let me park this
Straight.
somewhere
He
on the
just saw
fairway.
land,
Yeah.
right?
So like that was so smart to try
Crazy.
it. If I assume, as I do, that was his thinking and his rationale. And I'm so grateful that no one got seriously injured, as that is such an intense story coming out of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. Brenden, I know you're not a golfer. I would assume that doesn't make you want to golf anymore.
No, it doesn't help the cause. That's for sure. I do got a little bit of a fun story. I've been on a little 2-seater plane before. And
no way. Oh,
yeah,
no.
got on with
You better trust that one other person.
Yeah, little extended family. And as I'm getting on, the back wing has a goose with like a circle and a line through it.
Like an actual.
And I find out after the fact that's because this is this guy's second plane, because the first one went down because he hit a goose in the middle of the air and had to do a somewhat similar emergency landing. And I'm like, this feels like information that I could have known beforehand.
Before you get on the plane.
But also, I'm not going to lie, that definitely would have made me not do it. And while we're up there, I get asked, like, do you want to do a barrel roll?
No.
And I was like, no. And I thought about it more. I'm like, am I ever going to get asked that question again in my life?
So you took it, huh? You did it.
I did do it. I did do it. We were over the coast of Monterey. It was gorgeous, but yes, I did have to. I'm not a daredevil, but I was like, this might be my only chance. So.
And no geese in the skies that day, right?
No.
Okay,
all
good.
My goodness, could not be me. That's all I'll say. But that is quite the story, Brenden. I'm glad that you made it to the other side to tell that story. But definitely a quick lesson in getting all the information up front before you're in the air. That's kind of I would definitely like to know every flight you've ever had and any sort of, even if there's turbulence, I would like to know if you've ever dealt with that, because I just don't trust people like that. Not with my life. You're not going to catch me dead up there at Six Flags with no disrespect to Vallejo, but I'm not going to let the children of Vallejo determine whether or not I live or die or not. So, yeah, definitely some interesting local news on that front. And Brenden, like we said, or like I said before the break, you had Jason Pat on of the Cash Considerations podcast, which focuses on the Chicago Bulls. He told us a ton about DeMar DeRozan and what we can expect with him and his fit. Said he has few concerns about the fit of DeMar here in Sacramento. But what did you think of him comparing DeMar with Brandon Ingram? And just in general, it's something that I've thought of, when just in terms of when it comes to the hype around the DeMar DeRozan signing, it didn't feel like there was, of course, like it felt like more it was an initial shock than actual excitement. And I wonder how much of that was just the names that we were promised wasn't the names that we ended up getting. Do you, at the end of the day, think that Kings fans should be just as, if not more, excited by DeMar DeRozan than a name like Brandon Ingram?
Yeah, I mean, I think financially is definitely where I got the impression that he was kind of going with that of they're very similar players. And to Jason's point that, Ingram, I don't mind the comparison of Ingram almost being like a younger DeRozan in a way. And there's defensive differences, obviously, some of the size stuff. I think Ingram physically makes a little bit more sense for Sacramento. But if you're able to get a cheaper price for, essentially Harrison Barnes and that 2031 pick swap, which could be nothing, could end up looking bad, but really is a fine deal in my mind, where you're signing this guy just under 3 years, $74 million. The last year of the deal, the highest one, $25.7 million. Only $10 million of it is guaranteed. It just gives you more additional flexibility. So when it comes down to it, it's the same way that I think that Chris and I, you and I have been on the same page of maybe Kuzma makes a little bit more sense than Ingram, right? Because of that contract. It's a little bit more gettable. It still gives you wiggle room for future flexibility while getting a big player that's going to make a difference for your team. So I definitely see the comparison. And I think the fact that DeMar was able to be cheap at this point in his career, where he's still extremely productive. And Jason probably wouldn't mind me sharing, I was messaging him back and forth a little bit after the fact as well, says on DeMar again, I honestly couldn't believe how good he still was for much of last season. And now he held up playing literally like 40 minutes per game for a good chunk of the year. He pulled so many games out of his blah, blah, blah. The Bulls should have been like a 30-win team. So I think when you're getting that sort of production, and not to say that Ingram can't do the same thing, but getting it cheaper, not only via trade in what you would have to send out to acquire them, but when it comes to your books and the salary they're going to be on while we're there, it definitely makes sense. And there's a clear want on Sacramento's side of, trying to get good contracts as well as they build this out. I remember talking to somebody within the walls of the organization about OG Anunoby a while ago while he was still on the Raptors and up for an extension. And the conversation was, yeah, OG's great. Think he'd be a good fit, but what's he about to get paid?
Right.
And so I think that that's the exact same conversation for where we're at with Ingram.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. It does feel like, at least from a value perspective, the Kings definitely made the right decision and are definitely getting the most out of their money. I mean, I can't imagine you're going to get better value for, $25 to $27 million than getting a player the caliber of DeRozan. Even if they could have gotten a maybe better salary with guys like Kyle Kuzma or Cam Johnson, it does feel like you got the best combination of value for contract while also getting a really elite player. And if he can be even a semblance of the guy he was these past couple of years in Chicago, I definitely think the Kings are going to make out like bandits in this. And I don't think we're going to look back and regret this signing even a little bit. So excited for that one. A lot of people didn't enjoy the DeMarcus Cousins stint here in Sacramento. Well, he has found a new team to play for overseas. We'll talk about that. And then Ramiz and TC, I see you on the line. We will get to you next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Insurance companies perform a very valuable service, but they want to keep their money. Although most cases settle before trial, it is paramount that the insurance companies know that if pressed, your legal team has the experience to take your case all the way. For 25 years, Ashton & Price has earned the reputation that if the insurance company isn't fair, we're ready to force them to be fair. My mom used to warn me, wait till dad gets home. Think of us as dad. The best part, there's no fee until we win.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
Hi, this is Frank LaRosa.
And this is Scott Marsh.
Join us weekly for Golf to Go right here on Sacktown Sports. We talk to all the local golf experts in the area and give you the latest on all the courses as well.
And not to mention all the golf legends and celebrities, along with all the latest in equipment and tournaments too.
Most importantly, we'll just have some fun talking about a game that's fun to play.
You know, it's my favorite hour of the week, Frank.
Golf to Go, Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Sacktown Sports. Give us a listen. I think you'll enjoy it.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for American Energy Heating and Air with a question. Have you recently had a technician diagnose your HVAC system and you were a bit surprised at how much it cost? Or did something seem off about their quote? Because at American Energy, they take pride in giving you honest, straightforward solutions to get that system up and running. Have their qualified technicians come out and give you a free second opinion. It's free. You got nothing to lose but some dollars off of that original quote. They're making the uncomfortable comfortable. They've been doing it since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area A+ with the Better Business Bureau. That's why they keep having customers coming back for more and more and more. You can call them and set that appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Sacramento, Dirks Bentley's coming to town.
What was I thinking? I'm getting drunk all over.
Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Harmony.
I love you just the way.
Tyler Rich. Dasha. Kelsey Hart and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com. Brought to you by The Scoundrel Red Wine, Naturewood Home Furnishings, and Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
Labor Day savings now at Maida Chevy with $12,000 off MSRP on every new Silverado half-ton Turbo Max in stock after rebates. $12,000 off every Silverado LT Turbo Max at Maida Chevy with at least 5 at this price. Labor Day savings up to $12,000 off MSRP exclusively at Maida Chevy at MaidaChevy.com. Sacramento Silverado headquarters. Together, let's drive.
Not available with special financing. Lease and some other offers. Must trade in 2010 model year or newer. Ends 9/3/24.
Made a great deal at Maida.
Sponsored by Xfinity Internet. Enjoy ultimate control of your home network. Personalize your Wi-Fi name and password. Assign user profiles. View and control connected devices and more with the Xfinity Internet app.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
We talked about it a little bit on Friday, but Brenden Nunes isn't quite a Sacramento King lifer in terms of his fandom. He did used to support a team that was won a good handful of titles, not the one in Southern California where he is currently at right now, joining us from virtually. It was the team out in Boston. So, Brenden, I say all that not just to put you on the spot or put you on blast or anything, but more so because I don't know how much of the DeMarcus Cousins era here in Sacramento that you were a part of, but just whether it be from afar or whether you kind of that was like the initial stages of your Kings interest. What were kind of your thoughts on DeMarcus Cousins in his time here in Sacramento?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, definitely wasn't watching every single Boogie game growing up or anything like that. But in the time I've been in Sac and covering the Kings for a good handful of years now, I've definitely asked around a lot, tried to get a better idea of the history, whether that be the early 2000s teams or Boogie and all of these different guys, Francisco Garcia coming through town, these different, trying to educate myself a bit. And, you know, I'm very aware of how elite of a player Boogie was and just all the skill sets that he had. I think the passing is a very underrated aspect of his game, very modern in a way, in a time that maybe the NBA wasn't fully on board or at the point where we're seeing bigs ball handle and take care of business on the perimeter if need be and things like that. So aware of the well-roundedness and how elite of a player he truly was. And you got to saw that even more so, I think, with the Pelicans, or at least in more of a winning situation, I would say. But some of the stories are very much him not doing himself or his teammates very many favors, making life hard on whether that be Jimmer Fredette or some of these other guys that came into town. But you probably could have made you probably weren't helping your situation either, I guess I would say, but certainly wasn't dealt a great hand.
Yeah, definitely. It was a polarizing. I think polarizing is just the ultimate right word to use when it comes to DeMarcus and his tenure here. It does feel like you either love him and appreciate him and think, oh my gosh, what would we be without him? Or you say, that guy played a big hand in the reason why we lost. And, maybe if he had better attitude or anything like that, maybe he could have, just snuck through one playoff situation. But Boogie is now playing over in the Philippines. He has signed a deal with the, excuse me if I mispronounce this, the Zamboanga Valentines, I believe it is. I'll spell it out for any of you English. Well, I guess this isn't necessarily English, but Zamboanga, Zamboanga is how I'm reading that. And then Valentes. Shout out to Alberto De Roa of Hoops Hype, who was the first one on that. Via One Sports, it says former NBA All-Star DeMarcus Cousins arrived at the airport on Friday. He is slated to play as an import for Zamboanga in the final segment of the Asian tournament. So after playing with Dwight Howard, and I think I saw a clip of Quinn Cook in there as well, playing in Taiwan, DeMarcus Boogie Cousins makes his way to the Philippines and will be playing in the Philippines professionally for the time being. We will see where that goes, and I think it's just a shock to me that DeMarcus Cousins, and I know he definitely had the leg injuries and all that stuff, but the fact that he is at that place in his career at this moment in time is just kind of crazy to me. And I never really thought he would ever actually, get to this point in his career while he's still playing basketball and not being able to play in the NBA. I know he kind of went, he drifted around the league before eventually kind of finding his way out of it. So,
my question is why the Philippines? Why Taiwan? If you want to eventually make it back to the NBA, right, which, in my mind, we're probably past that point. But if he still thinks he can do that and be one of the best bigs in the league, like he said, I want to say within the last year, why not try to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona or even Olympiacos over where Sasha Vezenkov is now back reunited with, I believe, Filip Petrusev as well. But I think that it's just weird to me that these are the caliber of leagues that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's very strange, and it makes you wonder. I know Jimmer signed in China essentially because of the money. I wonder if it is a money situation or if it is just, he's trying to get tape in good tape at that. He's not trying to actually play organized, constructive, 14 to 15 point per game basketball. I think maybe it could be an element of he's trying to stat stuff and make headlines and hope that maybe that gets him back into the light. Speaking of, we are going to hit the phones now, and we are going to go to Ramiz, who's got some Kings thoughts. Ramiz, how you doing, Ramiz?
I'm doing pretty good. Before I give you my Kings win total, just got to do a couple stats out there. I thought Boogie Cousins was a monster in sack. I grade him as a top 5 King player of all time. But I know you guys were talking about the comparisons with DeMar DeRozan and Brenden Ingram. My cousin just sent me this stat line a couple weeks ago. This is going to blow your mind. Paul George and DeMar DeRozan are almost the same age, and we know Paul George is a better defensive player. But last year, DeRozan averaged 24 points to Paul George's 22, and Paul George's 5 rebounds to DeRozan's 4 rebounds, and then Paul George 3 assists to 5 assists to DeMar DeRozan. And the contract is crazy. You got 4 years, $212 at Philly, and then you got DeMar DeRozan 3 for 74. So I think we won that one. In regards to the Kings season totals, I think we're going to win anywhere between 54 to 56 games. And I think because of that DeMar DeRozan pick, if we do another trade like a Cam Johnson or Kyle Kuzma, I could see this team win over 60 games. Appreciate the call.
Wow, that is hefty.
Spicy.
I'm not willing to go there quite yet. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I do think the Kings are a lot closer to 50 wins than 45 wins. I will agree with you on that, Ramiz. But Brenden, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that maybe we, again, collectively are just underselling the DeMar DeRozan edition?
Yeah, Chris, I think I've said it to you a few times in the last month or so, but every once in a while, I just have a moment of realization of like, the Kings really got a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And a guy that is a certified all-star. We'll see year-to-year basis how much that continues. Obviously, very competitive Western Conference when you look at the guards, but to see like his numbers being pretty close to, and more often than not surpassing Paul George in the most recent season. Now, obviously, he mentioned the defense. I think the three-point shooting factors in a little bit there too. That makes PG a little bit of a smoother fit in quite literally any situation. I think he and Kevin Durant are like the most malleable all-stars there really are in the NBA. But it's a ridiculous player that Sacramento is adding here. You could go down all the statistics all time, but even recently, as he just pointed out, I mean, it's a big time player that they're adding to this team, and a big personality in a good way by all accounts, including what Jason Pat was telling us a little bit earlier today. So, it's every once in a while I do have a moment of, wow, they really got DeMar DeRozan on this team.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the first time you really see him suit up, and I think it'll be a couple games in where we just realize, like, kind of like with Malik Monk a bit, where I just don't know if the Kings have had a player like this before, where he just hits such tough shots, makes difficult things look easy. And yeah, I mean, I just think even the caliber of player, I kind of think people are going to be surprised at just how good DeMar DeRozan is all the way around. Again, it feels like his scoring ability has definitely been talked about a good bit, as it probably should be, but there's a lot to DeMar DeRozan's game that he brings. And, Deuce and Mo, when we talk with them on Friday, I asked them, who do you see DeMar making worse? Take it for what it was, but both of them said, I don't think he necessarily makes anybody worse. And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to follow throughout this season is he truly just a force multiplier, or is there some redundancies, and does he maybe bump some heads with guys like Keegan Murray, with guys, frankly, like Malik Monk, in doing things that only certain players can do? So that'll definitely be something to watch once the regular season and maybe even some preseason kicks off as well. But most importantly, excited to see DeMar DeRozan finally be in a Kings uniform that we can all agree on. Coming up next, we start the final hour of the program, and we kind of take it back a bit. There's no new news about this, but when you have a Kings insider like Brenden Nunes on, we got to get his thoughts on what he feels like the Kings' chances are in the new Emirates NBA Cup, also known as the in-season tournament. You're listening to Stiles and Watkins right here, Sacktown Sports.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
There was always a crowd gathered around our dining table when I was growing up. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. Everyone was welcome at my mother's table, so holidays, birthdays, and celebrations always included family and friends. I used to think I was the most popular kid in the neighborhood until I realized that my friends were really there for my mother's incredible cooking. Years later, when I bought my own dining table from Naturewood, I made sure it was large enough to make friends feel welcome. And right now, during Naturewood Home Furnishings Dine in Style sale, you have an opportunity to find the perfect dining room furniture to help you create your own treasured memories. Choose from casual to formal or anything in between. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings during the Dine in Style sale off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel. The PGA Club fitters at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio know that golf should be fun. They also know that players of all abilities will hit the ball farther and straighter, play better golf, shoot lower scores, and have more fun if they get fitted before they purchase golf clubs. Hagen Oaks delivers the same technology and major brands used to fit PGA and LPGA professionals. See how the game can be even more fun. Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
Waddy here, reminding you that not all gas grills are created equal. Bring out all the delicious flavors in your grilled meats with the amazing Napoleon Prestige and Prestige Pro line of outdoor cookers. My Napoleon Stainless Steel Pro Series gas grill has turned me into a grilling pro with features other grills cannot match. They're built different, built better, built to last. Made with premium stainless steel that boasts quality and a lifetime warranty. I may never want to cook indoors again. Napoleon grills and accessories are now available at your nearby Amy's, Ace Hardware in Sacramento, and now El Dorado.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento.
Take it on the local level. Live and local, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios. Sacktown Sports. Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
Stiles and Watkins, just Chris Watkins in. Brenden Nunes joining me as well. Alan Stiles, for those who are not aware, is filling in the mornings for Carmichael Dave and Jason Ross. He'll be doing that all week, so definitely go check out Alan in the mornings for your, what did he call it, a shot of Style Espresso? Style Espresso. Definitely, if you're looking to get up in the morning, tune into these 1140 airwaves and wake up with the stylings of one Alan Stiles. Simone texted us during the break that the Oakland Athletics have agreed to sell their stake in the Coliseum. Still waiting to kind of collect a little bit of information on that. But from what I've heard previously, that is a very big move in the hopes, not that the A's will stay in Oakland, but if there is any possibility that they will get an expansion team, if there is any way that possibly the A's could move back into that stadium, this is a good step in that direction. Of course, there's still a lot of other hurdles that they would have to clear in order for that to happen, but definitely a good step in the right direction as the Oakland Athletics agree to sell their stake in the Oakland Coliseum. I believe they own 50% of it. So definitely excited to see what the news tricklings of that is. Also, as we mentioned earlier, Orlando Robinson will be playing in the Fresno Pro-Am over at Clovis North High School out in Fresno. Quincy Pondexter had that news, former NBA player. He also put out about 45 minutes ago. He said, "It's up. Two-time NBA All-Star Isaiah Thomas is pulling up to play at the Fresno Pro-Am as well. That'll be on August 10th. So not only will you see current Sacramento King, newest Sacramento King big man Orlando Robinson, you can also see former Sacramento King. And I know this is where me and Brenden, the Venn diagram starts to kind of meet a middle point. Isaiah Thomas is like the great connector between Brenden Nunes and Kings Talk. Brenden, you were about as big of an IT fan as there is, correct?
Definitely. For what it's worth, I'm pretty sure Paul George is going to be out there at that Fresno Pro-Am.
Man,
yeah,
burying the
Fresno
lead here.
State alum out
Exactly.
there. So would definitely make sense to see him out there. Some solid competition. Lots of Pro-Ams popping up even more all over the place. Drew League, the crossover. I'm sure there's more I'm missing as well. But
we got to get one here in Sac.
Yeah, that'd be a great time. Maybe we need De'Aaron to try to host that or something. But yeah, I mean, I think that IT was definitely one of my favorite players to watch. I think there's something about especially going from watching Isaiah Thomas, and then obviously they ended up trading him for Kyrie Irving.
Right.
There's such a vast difference in Isaiah Thomas. Every bucket looked difficult. I would constantly be like, how in the world did he just do that? And Kyrie made it look easy, so it was definitely a vast difference between the two. But the whole like king of the fourth quarter was a big thing. Isaiah Thomas in Boston, he's pointing at his wrist like he's Dame Lillard out there. I think he finished top 4 in MVP voting that year as well. That is definitely one of my favorite years of watching basketball. That whole team. I'm a big Avery Bradley guy. Watching Isaiah Thomas go out not long after his sister had tragically passed away, and just totally have a ridiculous game and get emotional obviously afterwards. It was I loved watching that team, and Kelly Olynyk drop in who knows how many games,
my God,
or how many points
Kelly.
in Game 7, just elite performances. And I have a lot of love for those teams and Jonas Jerebko and all those guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you said it perfectly too. Like Isaiah Thomas, it's almost like a movie how his career kind of ended there, because that's really an example of like giving your everything to the game that you love. Like that, you could definitely make the argument that Isaiah Thomas essentially sacrificed the entirety or the rest of whatever would have been his NBA career to have that one season. I mean, you mentioned, playing through the tragic passing of his sister in that playoff game. He had the hip injury, which eventually did pretty much derail or completely destroy his career. He played through that, even though he was incredibly injured and fought through it. And it definitely hurt him in the long run. Just like an incredible story. And, for him just kind of floundering about trying to find an NBA team, it's kind of sad. I mean, really, again, like he is somebody who's came up against all odds, obviously was Mr. Irrelevant in that draft. And the fact that he now is just desperately searching for an NBA home, it's kind of not fair that he gave everything to the game, and the game don't love you back is what every athlete will tell you. And I think IT is definitely a shining example of you can give everything to the game, you can love the game, but it does not love you back.
Yeah, also a prime example of it's a business, right?
Totally,
Clearly was the leader of that team, and they just played through an injury, and that lowers his value, obviously messes him up a little bit, and then they just go and trade him off for Kyrie Irving. And the one other thing I'll add is there was a lot of conversation at that point of, will this impact the Celtics' ability to get free agents in the future? Will they look at them differently because of that? Now, obviously, they're a very successful team, so that probably factors in here. If you were a crappy team and treating players like that, I think it might be a different story. But in hindsight, it doesn't seem like it has at all.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, you definitely think that something like that would stick around with the team for a while. But I think if you were to bring that up this offseason or any offseason when it comes to the Celtics signing people talking, nobody thinks about that. Nobody is concerned with that. Maybe from an agent perspective, maybe if I'm unfamiliar with what agency he rocks with, but maybe if he were a Rich Paul client, there might have been a few more ramifications, but that could also be a symptom of, we really aren't afraid to burn that bridge too much. And like you said, like it is definitely the shining example of this thing's a business. And at the end of the day, we are here for wins and not for feelings.
You think Rich Paul might have came out and said, if anybody tries to trade for Isaiah Thomas, he's going to play in Australia next year?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that's kind of reserved just for Bronny. One of the most insane things any human has ever said ever, by the way. Absolutely insane. Going on to the phone lines here, we're gonna mix it up with TC. What up, TC? How you doing, man? I know you got some thoughts. What's up, man?
Man, Chris, what's going on, man? Brenden, what's going on? Simone in the back, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sorry to keep you waiting, TC. We got a loaded show. What you got?
I know it's all good. I'm gonna be quick. Hey, so look, check it out. Hey, I know I might get chewed for this before we get DeRozan, right?
Uh-huh.
I know. Listen, bro, golf to me is low key overrated. Do you and Brenden like golfing? But listen, hold on. I never golf though, right? I play sports. I love football, basketball, like baseball, cool, right? But golf to me, bro, is super overrated. But I never played it before, and I'm like, everybody is super. I guess that's like an older when you get an OG. So I'm late. I'm older, so I should start golfing now. Like, is golfing cool? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of people with golfing. You guys picking up golf and Allen. Like, is this something that people just do, or like, is it super overrated? Chris, be honest with me, Brenden.
I know Brenden doesn't play at all, so
I love golf.
I love golf.
Okay.
I think it's not even necessarily the sport itself. The sport itself will drive you absolutely mad, TC. So if you have any form of like anger problems or anything like that, I would not suggest it. But there is just fewer better things you can spend your day doing. I think that's more what it is. It's the vibes of golf are pretty unmatched because you'll just be chilling. You'll be, having a couple beverages or whatever. You're on the sixth hole. You're like, man, we just got 45 minutes of chilling out here. The weather most of the time is good. If you're playing on a nice course, it's just nice scenic views. Honestly, I guess the game of golf you could say is overrated, but the vibes are properly rated.
Okay, yeah, that was my question because I'm like, man, I'm not getting it with golf. I haven't been in my life not once won a club or anything, and I'm like, bro, man, this is kind of overrated. But I guess I gotta give it a shot. And it is the vibe. Every time I hear about the vibes, you know what I'm saying, it was good. And as far as DeRozan, listen, hey, I'm with y'all, Brenden. That's what I was saying when we first got the guy. When I said, remember when I called in, Chris?
Yes.
And I told you and Alan, I said, look, if the fan base is still kind of shell-shocked that we got DeRozan, bro, Brenden, we got us a dude. Like, we really got us a bona fide all-star dude. And when he put that Kings jersey on, easy like the last caller, bro, I give us 55 games, bro, easy with DeRozan, dog. And anything can happen. I'm not going to go off the limb and say the Kings is going to win the championship this year, bro, but anything can happen. Look what Dallas did last year, bro. We made a real move this all season, dog, that's going to put us in the best position to win next season, dude. And if things fall our way, I give us Western Conference Finals. I'm going to go out and say it, dog. Western Conference Finals. Book it. Kings this year, dog. I'm feeling good. Let's go. That's all I got.
I love it. What a call from TC. Always great to hear from you, TC. And I think you're I definitely don't think you're crazy or anything like that. I do want to definitely give TC his credit too. He was early on it. He did say there is a good bit of shell shock and kind of what you've said, Brenden. There's a couple moments where he thinks people have just not let it hit them yet that the Kings have DeMar DeRozan. Any thoughts on TC's call there, whether it be the golfing? I'm sorry I didn't let you step in there. On anything on golfing and or anything else TC had to say there about DeMar.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you calling in, TC. On the DeMar stuff, I mean, I think he's pretty on point. And I've said before on record that I think, best case scenario for this Kings team, I think they could sneak into the Western Conference Finals. And I think that has more to do with how I feel about the West as a whole. I still think that OKC, Denver, Minnesota should be on another level than the rest of these teams. And depending on how you feel about Dallas's offseason moves, but some interesting pieces there, obviously Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, Kessler Edwards, which, I've had some of my old tweets of Kessler Edwards resurfacing and Dallas fans acting like they really did something special with that one, which I'll bite my tongue there. But I think that in the right world, the Kings definitely could make a run to the Western Conference Finals if everything were to click. But sometimes it takes a season for that to go. I will say on golf, I side more with TC than you two at this point. I don't fully get it, I guess. And I'm also somebody that gets frustrated if I'm not good at something. So I think the learning curve is the hardest part for me here. Is I got to get past it because I'm going to Topgolf and like having to, I got to make sure I'm not accidentally putting the people next to me in danger or anything like that. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've gone down to Tipsy Putt by the stadium and did the mini golf thing down there with Frankie Cardicelli and a handful of other people not too long ago. And I am used to mini golf. So I'm used to there being paddings around the putters. I hit that thing way too hard and it bounced off a wall and I almost hit somebody. I had to go apologize. It was really tough. So that tells you where I'm at with golf.
This ain't it.
And so, yeah, I want to get there eventually because I'm with you and I get the idea of the vibes. I want to be able to say yes if I get invited. Also, big time networking things sometimes. So I feel like I got to be able to do it a little bit right now. Not there though. And I don't feel like I'm missing out that much.
Big dog, we're going to get you all taken care of. Come out with me. I got a spot. I got a guy. We'll get you all laced up, and you're going to be so into it. Trust me. Trust the process on this one.
I'm down to try.
Vibes.
I'm down
I
to
think
try.
we can get you out, but if you're looking for getting over the learning curve, that's not happening. The learning curve is eternal in golf.
That's what everybody says. Everybody's like, well, everybody sucks out there. And I'm like, well, I don't like, I think there's levels, you know?
Absolutely. There's 1,000,000% levels to it. And it's a frustrating sport. I mean, even the best in the world have their terrible days. And it just lets you know that you can be amazing. And even then, it doesn't matter. You will still struggle out there. And that's why a lot of people love it, because some people are obsessed with constantly getting better, and they obsess over every little finite detail of their swing, and they enjoy incremental improvements. And then there's people like us, Brenden, who just get mad. And, you could try and figure out every little minute detail of it, or you can just swing that thing and hope that it lands near the hole.
You played with Alan before?
Me, yes. I've played with Alan twice. Yeah, me and Alan played about a month and a half ago at Lamb Park.
Is he solid? I know it's hard to tell, because he thinks he's like the best at everything. So I got to ask other people that rather than himself,
I mean, like, is he incredible? No, but like, he is as good as, your general, weekend golfer or anything like that. He also played baseball at a high level, and, excuse me, just in general, being an athlete puts you at a certain level. I saw Doug Christie hit his golf swing just kills the ball. He's 6'6", though. Definitely being a baseball star helps a bit. It's kind of a little contradictory with the swing with baseball and golf. One, you kind of lift your leg up. The other one, you want to keep it planted. But for the most part, baseball players tend to, they know how to hit things out the park, so they can figure out how to hit a ball on the ground pretty far. So he's got that working for him. I also haven't seen him, fully healed from the Achilles, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Speaking of benefit of the doubt, we will talk about the Sacramento Kings in the NBA Cup and who gets the benefit of the doubt in that group of death. West Group C looks impossible. We talk about that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
I'm a very active person that likes to move around and go. The pain I was in was really excruciating. It was actually debilitating. I was basically heading towards a sedentary lifestyle. I had really tried everything, but I quickly lost hope with all of the things that we had tried, and that's what led me to the Good Feet store. And when I found the Good Feet system, it really just changed everything. It brought me back to life. I have my active lifestyle back.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool has been put away. Now's the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The following is a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube.
Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
Few things are worse in radio than when you get something caught in your throat and you can't finish the sentence. And that's how we wrapped up our last segment, with me almost choking live on air. would like to say it's the first time, but it's just not. There's few things, like I said, in this world that are a worse feeling than knowing you have about 5 minutes to fill and you feel like you just have a lump in your throat that you just can't get out. So always appreciate the breaks. Brenden Nunes joining me today, filling in for Alan Stiles, who filled in for Carmichael Dave, who is also with Jason Ross, who's also out. Whitey Gleason's out this week as well. He is joining Jason Ross. I believe they're both already feet on the ground in Hawaii. So shout out to those two who just living life to the fullest. I think
Verlaud's gone too.
Verlaud's gone too, right? Oh
It's
my
a skeleton
goodness.
crew.
What is going on?
Brendan's
not even here. You know, like my goodness.
Did either of you guys see
the old Sacktown Sports?
My goodness, it's all right. I feel very confident in the crew that we have remaining here that we can hold the ship afloat. Feeling good on a Monday for what it's worth. We got about 30-40 minutes left in today's show. Still got some things that we want to get to. First and foremost, like I said at the top of the show, this is not new at all. This has been information that's been out for a while. I just feel like in general, as the news cycle goes, and I think it got released at the start of Summer League, so we're still kind of riding off the fumes of the draft, still also talking about, movements and free agency and in trades and all that sort. It felt like the NBA Cup kind of got swept under the rug this season. Of course, last year was the first year they did the in-season tournament. I would say it was a success. I would not say it was a raging success. I would not say, this is something that the NBA is going to pioneer and tons of other leagues are going to implement things like this. It was fine. It was solid. I think the final, or once they kind of got to Vegas, things really started to get real in terms of marketing and people feeling like it's a big deal. Obviously, the courts being different, I think, played a little bit of a factor in it feeling different for a couple games there. But for the most part, I think a lot of people didn't really feel the gravity of the situation as those play-in group stage games were going on. We'll see how that progresses. Brenden, and that brings us to this season's NBA Cup draw, in which the Sacramento Kings were placed in West Group A and given the 3 seed. The other members of their group, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Houston Rockets, and the Portland Trail Blazers. The Kings will host the Rockets and the Timberwolves at Golden One Center and head on the road for their matchups with the Clippers and the Blazers. 2-part question. A, in general, do you agree with me? Feel free to disagree, please. That it felt like the NBA Cup kind of got swept under the rug a bit this offseason and people kind of moved on pretty quickly. And then 2, how do you feel about the Kings' chances in that group? If I'm not mistaken, you would definitely know better. I believe the top 2 teams advance from each group.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that that's how that works. On the in-season tournament in general, or the Emirates Cup, I guess, that we're going by now, I think that it was a success for the most part. I think that those games did hold more weight when Sacramento went to New Orleans. Like, everybody wanted them to win that game. And obviously, we know how matchups against the Pelicans went last year for the Kings. But I think for the most part, it was pretty fun. It got more eyes on basketball during the dead time of year, where that exactly was the goal in my mind. Now, by the end of the year, does it matter at all? No. Like, the 2 teams in the finals, the Pacers and the Lakers, didn't make that much noise in the postseason. Obviously, a little bit on Indiana's side, but for the most part, I think that it makes a somewhat dead part of the NBA season for the people that aren't just locked in every single game a little bit more exciting. So I would say it's a success, but I will say that the Kings need to not have a blue court. Because, like, why? I know that they seem to internally really like the blue and red color scheme. We've heard whispers about that before. They're purple, and maybe a purple court might be a little bit much. I think New Orleans was the one that did that. That Domas said it kind of looked like Halloween a little bit out there, but I don't know. Got to figure something out. Even if it was like we went with gray or something. Like, I don't know. I think there's different ways to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's that's a really good point that the court wasn't. I didn't really love it. I didn't love the I think they called the path, the gray line that went down from baseline to baseline was, I believe they called it the strip to Vegas, or the runway to Vegas or something like that. it was just a weirdly constructed court. And yeah, it feels like the Kings should kind of stick to their either being black or being purple. Kind of feels like they went with an interesting direction with the blue. And I'm not advocating for, the Boise State of basketball floors, please. I don't think anybody's rooting for anything like that. Brenden, I want to get your thoughts on what is considered the group of death. West Group C is labeled the group of death with the Denver Nuggets, the Dallas Mavericks, the aforementioned New Orleans Pelicans. You have the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies all fighting it out in one group. Again, I think the top 2 get selected, and I believe there's a third wild card if you have the most wins and the highest point differential as well. So probably going to get that third team out of this group. But in general, I mean, how glad are you, A, that the Kings avoided this group? And B, I mean, do you lean any way? I know it's not postseason, so it's not quite saying who you think overall is going to be the best team, but do you lean any way in that group of death between Denver, Dallas, New Orleans, Golden State, and Memphis?
Yeah, I mean, I still definitely am going to lean Denver. I think they're the 1 seed for a reason. Really good regular season record last year. Obviously, some of the losses that they had this offseason, specifically KCP being a pretty big one, gives a decent amount of potential variance there. Julian Strawther, I think, is a big X factor for them, could potentially replace some of that shooting they're losing. Obviously, looking at Christian Brown and Peyton Watson to take another step. 2 guys that I really do like, but I think KCP is one of the more unsung heroes of a lot of the teams that he's been on over the last few years, and you're definitely losing something there, but it's still Nikola Jokic. And the only time that he's not going to be the best player on the floor is when they're, or potentially not the best player, is either Luka Doncic with Dallas, or there's a world where Steph Curry is the best player on the floor as well in some of these games, I think. But obviously the Warriors don't have the strong enough surrounding cast to really get it done. Now, in-season tournament is there's a lot of just single games, obviously. Yeah. And I think when you do a small sample size and basketball tournament, that there's a lot of potential variance game to game. You could have a random Buddy Hield 35-point performance. Like he's liable to do that every once in a while. When that guy catches fire, he's going to be knocking him down. So I'm still pretty comfortably going Denver. But I guess what I feel most confident saying, New Orleans and Golden State are the bottom 2 to me.
That's really interesting. I mean, I do think to your point about Denver, though, it's early in the season, and for a team that has quite a bit of injury-prone players and Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., I'm sure it being in the first couple months of the season is pretty beneficial to them. And I think I agree with you that Golden State's probably my choice to be at the bottom of that. New Orleans, I don't have a good read on them because of everything we saw them do to Sacramento last year. It feels like my entire perception of them is completely warped. So I can see them finishing second. I can definitely see them finishing in the bottom there. And I'm telling you, don't overreact to Memphis. It just feels like there's a lot of positive feelings about the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm just not 100% sold that everything's going to go the Grizzlies' way. Coming up next, a 49er legend gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Bill Barnwell of ESPN.com tries to predict who will be a Hall of Famer down the line. And San Francisco 49ers fans are going to have some fun moving forward. We talk about that next and more right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up! and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of consumer cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Hey everybody, it's your boy Drapes, Kyle Draper from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. I can't speak enough about my new Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. I recently got back from a long trip. I was tired. My back was aching from being on the airplane. I was dragging. But once I hopped in my all-new electric SUV, all was good. The first thing I did was put on the seat massager. It really made a difference. I challenge you to check it out for yourself. Go visit my friends at Mercedes-Benz of Stockton and tell them Drapes sent you. It's just a short drive down I-5 or online at mbofstockton.com.
Hello, Sacramento. I'm Emran Pilati, owner of True Sports Cards and Collectible Store here in Rockland, California, and the host of the True Sports Cards Show that airs right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we discuss the latest trends, hottest products, and deliver exclusive interviews with other industry leaders. And don't forget to visit our shop, True Sports Cards, at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road in Rockland and see what we have for all your sports card and memorabilia needs.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
Seems as though casual players are always trying to balance the desire to hit the golf ball farther with shooting lower scores. Whether you hit a 270-yard drive or miss a 12-inch putt, they both count a stroke on your scorecard. Some of us will never hit the ball 270 yards, and trying normally leaves us well short and well right of the target. Seems as though improving our putting might be an easier way to shoot better scores. Putting is about confidence. It's about feeling the greens, seeing the line, visualizing the ball going in the hole, and making a confident stroke. Harvey Penick says, never, repeat, never allow yourself to think about what's riding on the putt, whether it's a major championship or just a 50-cent wager. Hit the putt as you've hit 10,000 putts in the past. Concentrate on imitating your final practice stroke, not on what will happen if you either miss it or make it. A positive mind will cure a lot of ills. Think about it. Really, think about it. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
Sacramento, Dierks Bentley's coming to town. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Parmalee, Tyler Rich, Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com. Brought to you by The Scoundrel Red Wine, Naturewood Home Furnishings, and Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
I once said, if you want to reach the peak in your success, you cannot cheat the grind, for the grind knows what you put in. I never give up, never quit on myself. Through my example, I hope my story can be a template for you to achieve your greatness, to inspire and help you empower yourself to live the God-given vision of success.
Sacramento's official home for the San Francisco 49ers.
Sacktown Sports.
That was the voice of one Patrick Willis being inducted into the Canton Hall of Fame. Gotta love that. After the Hall of Fame game was cut short last Thursday for weather purposes. It was great to see, all the greats being inducted. Brenden, I know we talked a little bit earlier in the show about you being a Niner fan, but not really considering yourselves a Niner insider, but definitely having a good bit of knowledge. Where does Patrick Willis fall for you, just in your fandom of your all-time Niners, and kind of like in your general fandom as well? Like what does he symbolize, I guess, if at all anything?
Yeah, I mean, he might be my favorite Niner. I talked earlier about me loving defense out there.
Yeah, you did.
Watching him next to Navarro Bowman was just elite, and having that sort of play, the physicality, obviously, that he brought, and kind of setting the tone, and just watching him be the leader of that really good group for a long time. I'm a big linebacker guy, and I feel incredibly lucky to go from that to now Fred Warner sitting here, who's in my mind up there with Patrick Willis. And so I think it's great to see these guys get this recognition. Obviously, I'm saying my favorite Niner is somebody that didn't exactly watch the heydays way back when. Not to way back when may offend some people. I'm just a little on the younger side, I guess. But no, he's definitely up there. I mean, I think that those are the guys that really set the tone on the defensive end. And he did that every single time that he went out there. Had a couple random run-ins at malls in the area and stuff with Patrick Willis. Yeah, so definitely holds a special place in my sports heart.
Yeah, no, me and Alan saw him at the Super Bowl, just kind of walking around, and these guys are big. They're large humans, and yeah, definitely like just the shoulders of Patrick Willis absolutely stuck out. I know he does kind of have some bigger shoulder pads, but definitely learned that not all of that is shoulder pad, and he is just an absolute mammoth of a guy. And definitely not one of your 6'4", 250 kind of guys or anything like that, but just a really, really hulking presence when you see him in person. Patrick Willis was a 7-time Pro Bowler, becoming the first Niner since Ronnie Lott to earn Pro Bowl honors in each of his first 4 seasons, and the first in franchise history to do so in 7 consecutive seasons. He's part of an elite group of defenders that include Aaron Donald, Lawrence Taylor, and Derek Thomas, who were named to the Pro Bowl in each of their first 7 seasons since the 1970 merger. So again, just kind of putting him in that rarefied air. Patrick Willis was the first 49er to be selected an All-Pro in each of his first 6 seasons. And in 2020, he was named to the Pro Football Hall of Fame's 2010s All-Decade team. And I heard somebody, I think it was this morning, I was listening to NBA radio on Sirius XM, and Frank Isola was talking about, I think, a conversation he had with Patrick Ewing, or it was somebody where he essentially asked them, what is a Hall of Famer? And his answer was, it's essentially, if you cannot tell the story of your sport without including this name. And I think Patrick Willis definitely fits that. Now, can you tell the story of football without involving Patrick Willis? Sure, but he definitely was, to your point, Brenden, the best linebacker in the NFL when he was rolling. And it obviously, defense is never really the glamour of football talk, but it felt like Patrick Willis had the respect of the entire NFL when he was at his peak.
Yeah, I think consistency is something that can get overlooked a lot. First 7 seasons, by the way, is ridiculous, especially you come into the league and you instantly make All-Pro. And I know we're going to get to it here with his eligibility coming up, but like Frank Gore on the other side, obviously providing a bunch of consistency as well. But to be able to do it every single game and always seem to bring that energy no matter what's going on, because I'm sure there's days where off the field there's everybody's dealing with personal stuff as well, and you never know what's going on outside of the lines. So to still be able to bring that every single night, and like I said, set that tone and really just, this is how we're going to play, and doing that not only through your words, but by example. I think consistency is a huge thing, specifically in like football, where it seems like, there were like 2-3 years where I didn't pay that much attention a handful of years ago. And I came back and I'm like, what in the world has happened?
Definitely know what you mean. By the way, you mentioned that we're going to get into the Frank Gore case and his longevity. I think that's a great point, because that kind of is the Frank Gore. That is the Frank Gore case, is just longevity. It's not even necessarily Frank Gore would have ever screamed being the best running back for a period of time, but it was just, he was pretty consistently always a top 5 running back. And that definitely is going to help his Hall of Fame case when it comes around. And to that point, Bill Barnwell of ESPN.com pointed at predictions for who he thinks will be the next 10 classes of NFL football Hall of Famers. Doesn't have anybody listed for this next class coming up, the class of 25. He predicts Eli Manning, Antonio Gates, Terrell Suggs, Jared Allen, Adam Vinatieri. Says he thinks Marshawn Lynch will miss the first cut. Marshall Yanda, Ryan Khalil, Luke Kuechly, Aqib Talib, and Earl Thomas will all miss the 25 cut. However, in 2026, he thinks it's going to be Niner Nation out there strong. Brenden, want to get your thoughts on the Frank Gore case. He writes, Frank Gore, who he does have making the Hall of Fame in 2026, first year of eligibility after dropping to the 3rd round in 2005 because of injury-riddled career at the U. Frank Gore became the most unlikely top back in league history in an era in which teams were increasingly we're increasingly trying to give their lead backs significant carries. He topped 200 carries in 10 different seasons and missed 3 or more games just once in his 16-year career. His 16,000 career rushing yards are third on the all-time list. So while he was never a first-team All-Pro, again, you probably never listed Frank Gore as your number one running back, his lengthy success at the position, voters love to reward, making him a strong candidate. What are your thoughts on Frank Gore potentially making the Hall of Fame in 26?
Again, the consistency, right? I mean, even if we're not talking NFL Hall of Fame eventually, he's got to be in fantasy Hall of Fames. Like, this is the guy you want on your team for sure. And I think to go out there and play every single night, damn near, when you're more of like a power back in a way, really trying to get through guys, playing a really physical branded game. I think that he could have been a good case for Head and Shoulders commercials because there's not much neck going on. You just go straight from head to shoulders when you look at Frank Gore. But I think that consistency is definitely the big thing. And doing that night in and night out for, the Niners for most of his career to the point where his son starts to become a prospect. Like, that's got to count for something.
No, absolutely. And Frank, spot on there. And you're right. Like, it is really crazy that he ends up having that level of consistency, especially considering coming out of the draft, injuries were a major concern. I can't think of the last time, I'm more so thinking NBA, but when somebody enters the draft with injury concerns, usually those things end up popping up at some point. Even Steph Curry, even though he figured those out, but Anthony Bennett had some injury issues as well.
Maybe
it
like
just
MPJ.
feels like MPJ absolutely had injury issues, and Greg Oden, it ended up ruining his career. But it does feel like when you come into the league with possible injury concerns, a lot of the time those things end up popping up at some point. Frank Gore, it just never did. Again, only missed 3 games once in his 16-year career. The other Hall of Famer from the Niners side in 26. Again, like they said, this is Bill Barnwell predicting who will make the Hall of Fame for the next 10 seasons. He has Richard Sherman getting inducted with Frank Gore in 26 in his first year of eligibility as well. Right, Sherman's peak came and went relatively fast. He made first-team All-Pro 3 times in his first 4 years with the Seahawks and never got back. But the Legion of Boom member had a strong case as the most feared cornerback in football at his best. His size and ability to create takeaways made him an extremely valuable player in Seattle. In his late career resurgence in San Francisco helped push the Niners to a Super Bowl appearance in 2019. Sherman's playoff exploits and status as a member of a legendary defensive unit will help him in his first ballot chances. Definitely agree. Richard Sherman, to me, does feel like a Hall of Famer. He more so, honestly, more so than Patrick Willis and more so than Frank Gore, I think fits into that. You can't tell the story of football without telling this guy's story. Obviously, the Legion of Boom and just him being such a big personality. I mean, Crabtree is like an all-time quote for me. I definitely think Richard Sherman is going to be very deserving of that. I really am not somebody who gets too fixated on first year of eligibility Hall of Fame versus second ballot Hall of Fame or anything like that. So definitely excited to see what Richard Sherman's Hall of Fame speech would be. I'm sure it would have semblances of like a Michael Jordan Hall of Fame speech where he probably is going to call a couple people out because we know, Richard just probably can't help himself. He does like to rub it in people's faces. Coming up next for the this flew through. We are already in the final segment of today's show. We'll be talking about something I had no idea. To be honest with you, I had no idea about this subject 24 hours ago, and De'Aaron Fox put me on game. I had no idea. I'm excited to hear if anybody else knew about this, but De'Aaron Fox weighs in on a very, very hot button high school basketball issue. Excited to talk about. And then when will we get the schedule released for the 24-25 NBA season? We talk about that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Bonneville International Radio Station contests are open to participants at least 18 years of age and older that are residents of California and who reside in one of the 6 counties that make up the Sacramento metro area, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest are not eligible to win, unless the station otherwise specifies in its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 30 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. For a copy of the general contest rules, visit KHTK.com.
It's a myth to think you don't play golf well enough to get fitted for golf clubs. The professionals at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio would argue that playing the game with golf clubs properly fitted to your body and swing characteristics is the best way to improve your game and have more fun on the golf course. With a professional staff of fitters, all the major brands of equipment, and cutting-edge technology featuring TrackMan, the indoor-outdoor Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio is worth a look. See for yourself, Fulton Avenue at the Cap City Freeway. Schedule your fitting at 916-808-2531, 808-2531.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave inviting you to make the switch to electric this spring and save big with American Energy. Stay ahead of the spiking energy bills this summer with up to $9,000 in rebates on a new ultra-high efficiency comfort system. American Energy is providing huge rebates from SMUD as well as spring specials by installing one of many incredibly efficient AC options available to you right now. Get rid of those fluctuating gas bills in the winter and switch to year-round all-electric with American Energy. Let them perform a free in-home energy efficiency analysis and see where they can help you save for the warmer months ahead. These guys are the best. Been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1981. A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Learn more by calling 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
There was always a crowd gathered around our dining table when I was growing up. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. Everyone was welcome at my mother's table, so holidays, birthdays, and celebrations always included family and friends. I used to think I was the most popular kid in the neighborhood until I realized that my friends were really there for my mother's incredible cooking. Years later, when I bought my own dining table from Naturewood, I made sure it was large enough to make friends feel welcome. And right now, during Naturewood Home Furnishings Dine in Style sale, you have an opportunity to find the perfect dining room furniture to help you create your own treasured memories. Choose from casual to formal or anything in between. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings during the Dine in Style sale off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
It's been said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And when it comes to a nice, cool summer, it's so true. Right now, get a complete air conditioner tune-up for just $59. Bonnie. Plumbing, sewer, electrical, heating, and air. Bonnie.com. Some restrictions apply. License 696-355.
Your new home for 49ers football in the 916 Sacktown Sports.
I don't know what to do with this, Simone.
Yeah.
This is kind of uncharted territory, at least for me specifically. We talked earlier, and Brenden thankfully backed me on when we were talking about Brandon Ayuk's situation and Matt Mayoko having in his article on NBCSports.com, NBA Sports Bay Area, confirming or not confirming, but even just including a tweet from one Cam, as in Cam Newton Marino, which obviously makes me instantly think, okay, is this like a Dan Marino parody account? But again, Matt Mayoko includes a tweet from one Cam Marino saying that the Steelers and it was the Patriots and the Browns as the two main suitors for Brandon Ayuk in a possible trade. Brenden confirmed for me, as I said, I can't imagine. It's not Mayoko directly reporting it, but the fact that he includes it in his article tells you that he probably got some semblance of, I'm hearing the same thing. He's not going out and straight up reporting it, but he is at the same time acknowledging, yes, I've seen it, and, I will not say that there is no validity to it. That brings us to where we are currently sitting right here, right now, as I open up my Twitter account, which it is still my Twitter account and not anything else, not known as anything else. And we have from one Cam Marino that I really don't know where to go with this, but breaking, this is 23 minutes ago, Cam Marino, the same guy who had the Browns and the Patriots having interest in Brandon Ayuk says, breaking, the Steelers and 49ers have agreed to a trade that sends Brandon Ayuk to Pittsburgh. I don't know what to do with this. You have some Niners reporters out there, specifically, I will list names. Grant Cohn is live right now with this report saying that kind of giving all the same pretenses, but we are now in this. I mean, this is the most, like, it feels to me like a very 2024 story where we don't know, like, how, just because you get one thing right, does that now mean that you are a credible source?
No.
I don't know what to do with this. But I feel like I do have to acknowledge that it is circulating. It is a round that allegedly Brandon Ayuk has been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is no official confirmation from any sourcing that you would probably prefer. There is no Matt Mayoko. There is no Tim Kawakami, no Rap Sheet, no Adam Schefter out there. But you have Cam Marino and a couple other Twitter pages out there, and it will get no further than that at this moment, saying that Brandon Ayuk is allegedly traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I'm not going to run with it, but I do feel like I have to acknowledge it in some sense. Brenden, as a man of media, did I do that right? How do we navigate this?
Yeah, I think that you're right. I mean, this is a fairly newer name on my end. I think that specifically with Matt Mayoku in the previous reporting we were talking about, I think that stands true specifically to that reporting.
Yes.
And I'm still definitely going to wait until there's more valid sources, I guess I would say, or proven sources we'll go with. Like I'm seeing in the comments here, there's an SF Niners fan page that says this tweet will make or break you. And I think that's probably fairly accurate. You know, there was a reporting involving Kevin Huerter's injury earlier this year from a smaller account.
Maverick source, I think.
I believe that's what it was. And we were like, okay, how does this work? And it ended up being right, you know? So sometimes people have different random connections that lend them to this information. And obviously Shams is not random, but it's the same way he's out there tweeting that Joe Biden pulls out of the race. Like sometimes you just hear things because of who you know, even if it's maybe indirectly related to what you primarily do. So I definitely think it's something. And I think for, about 9 a.m. this morning, I saw a couple of different reports that the Steelers were getting close to a deal with Ayuk, but same thing. Everything I saw, I was like, I don't know how much to trust all of this. So Cam Marino may make himself, he's going to be a name at the end of all this.
It could be an arson judge name, but he could make a name.
Arson judge. Yes, that is a great shout. It's going to be one or the other. I feel like we've heard Pittsburgh linked to Brandon Ayuk before, but we've also heard a handful of different teams. I'm not exactly sure what that looked like, but from the Steelers' perspective, they could end up having a pretty damn good offseason.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you bring in Justin Fields, you bring in Russell Wilson, you get Brandon Ayuk to pair with George Pickens. Like, I mean, you could definitely do worse, especially for a team that's perennially 8-8, 8-9, 9-8, whatever you want to do in this new NFL with their schedule. But yeah, just a bit confusing. And I will say the most infamous last words in what feels like just in general in America, but it's just do your own research and maybe you can figure out some other conclusion that you might come to. But I want to get into something that, again, I was completely unaware of until De'Aaron Fox tweeted about it yesterday. And it is Brenden Nunes. Did you know that, and this is per Max Preps, which is the leading source in terms of my eyes when it comes to high school sports, 25 states in America do not have shot clocks implemented in high school basketball with no official plan to add one. Shot clocks are currently being used by 21 state associations for high school basketball during the 23-24 season. In addition, 3 other states are conducting trial runs this next season. Many states and smaller counties would struggle to find extra staff at every game, as they would need somebody to operate the shot clock, a prominent reason why states have not adopted. Did you know that it was not just commonplace for high schools to have shot clocks?
Okay, so I will say I went to a small charter school.
Okay.
Right. And our first year, we weren't even quite a big enough school because we were the first class. So like I was the only freshman on campus, no upperclassmen. And as we went, we were always like the oldest group, right?
Right.
So you have to have what group you're in is based on how many total kids are at your school.
Right. Yeah, your division.
So first year, we're not part of any actual
you're like D8
division or whatever it may be. There's a couple times from what I'm remembering that I played without a shot clock for those reasons.
And that's in California, obviously.
Yes. Near Bay Area. So I knew that it was a thing a little bit, but also I understand that my circumstances are a little bit different in that aspect. So, but there's no reason that it should be a thing for a high caliber basketball because you're just going to play keep away when you're up. If you have a big lead either way, or you're a big deficit, you're just going to play keep away. And
absolutely,
like I think throughout high school, it's like a 35-second shot clock usually, or something like that. That's fine. So I think that it doesn't make sense for there to be no shot clock. That's part of the whole point of basketball in my mind, is that you have a limited amount of time to make your move. And, now we're resetting it with offensive rebounds and things like that, but it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm 100% with DeRozan. Like, what are we doing? And you're teaching the wrong things. If the point is that you're supposed to get better to eventually take those next steps, or at least put you in an opportunity where you could, if you are of that caliber, this is certainly not helping with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's actually a phenomenal point that I wasn't even considering is, for the development of these players, it's just not something that's productive at all. I mean, in every single level of basketball, you have a shot clock. And even if it is 35 seconds, it is still, like you're saying, some sort of requirement of you got to make your move at some point here. And it definitely doesn't feel like it's productive for these high school athletes. And I mean, like exactly what you explained as the reason why to have a shot clock is the response was the tweet that DeRozan eventually replied to. It was pretty much a high school team running four corners, Dean Smith, four corners, passing the ball around for literally a minute straight. And DeRozan tweeted out, "At every level of football, there is a play clock. I don't understand people that argue against the shot clock in basketball, at least at the varsity level." So there you go. De'Aaron Fox spreading the news and the word that apparently it is not mandated for high school basketball to have a shot clock. Brenden Nunes, thank you so much for joining me today, man. This one flew by. Hopefully we can get you in here for when you're here at the end of the week. Excited to talk to you later then. Thank you so much for spending your day with me so far. And now that you're free, please go enjoy Southern California.
Absolutely. Glad to do it. And, I'm excited now. Tyler Fitzgerald's got a little card in the show, so I might grind that one out.
Well, we know what Brendan's going to be doing the rest of his day. How you should be spending the rest of your day is listening in to The Drive, guys, with Kyle Draper and a special guest. Hear all about that coming up next right here in Sacktown Sports 1140.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.